In 1985, a young author is sitting in his Liverpool apartment. He has no typewriter, he has no word processor. He's putting a literal pen to paper. The words start flying off the pages, and in 1986, he published his newly finished short story, The Hellbound Heart. The Hellbound Heart dives deep into hedonistic ideas and the concept of differentiating the line between extreme pleasure and pain. It also introduced us to a group of nameless creatures called Cenobites. The book didn't pick up steam until a fellow author, named Stephen King, made a statement that would change the author's life. I've seen the future of horror, and his name is Clive Barker. This serial killer isn't about Clive Barker specifically, but when an artist, and I mean a real, true artist, is also able to create one of the most marketable and successful franchises ever, you have to give them their roses. Clive famously said, "I want to be remembered as an imaginer, someone who used his imagination as a way to journey beyond the limits of self, beyond the limits of flesh and blood, beyond the limits of even perhaps life itself." Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hold your breath, make a wish, count to 3, and come with us to a world of cruel imagination as we explore the franchise of Hellraiser. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horror Show. Show dissects, mutilates, dismembers, and butchers all of your favorite and not so favorite horror movies and other horror-related events. I'm Sean.
I'm Joe.
We are back, baby. It's been a while. We didn't get to do the live show. Sorry about that, but fucking holidays, storm duties. Joe and I work in the energy.
The energy racket in Connecticut.
Energy fucking racket. And so, you know, storms, whether it's fucking wind and drizzle or an actual blizzard, for whatever reason, storm duty happens regardless. So you know, we were both tied up doing a lot of that stuff, and of course the holidays. So thank you all for your patience with this, and sorry about that. But we will have a live show in January. Of course, we are doing Serial Killer on Hellraiser.
Back.
The Hellraiser franchise. I'm excited, man.
Happy 2023, by the way. It's the first day kicking off the year with a serial killer.
Happy fucking New Year. Yeah, New Year, new serial killer. And serial killer will maybe be our January staple, baby. Just to make sure our fucking first month of the year is a fucking miserable piece of shit.
I like it. Start the year off on a good foot.
Because then everything else is just cake after this. Yeah, Happy New Year. Did you see Duran Duran was the big band for Ryan Seacrest, Dick Clark?
I love Duran Duran. And I still do. I think they sounded great. But to your point, I know you were tight about seeing their old asses up on Dick Clark's Ruth's Steakhouse ball drop. But you know, they were good.
Listen, here's the thing. It's all fine for the interviews. When you got a close up of their faces was a little too much for me, but it was nothing about Duran Duran themselves. It's just like they would cut to the crowd and like all these fucking kids are like, who the fuck is this?
That's the problem. Which was the problem with the Super Bowl, right? When you had like the Rolling Stones. I love the Rolling Stones, but like nobody that's at the game, like the kids tuning in, are giving a shit about the Rolling Stones.
Dude, they're playing Hungry Like the Wolf, and like they're cutting to the crowd, and people are like yeah, like fucking slaps, but like what the fuck is this? Like no one was singing along. So Duran Duran rang us into the new year. God bless them. 2023. One thing, just real quick, that I just want to talk about, and like I wasn't going to, but I had mentioned it, I guess, briefly on All Documented, All True, and like I got some messages, and they were all mostly positive, but like some people like just kind of like brought this to my attention was on All Documented, All True, I kind of like dropped randomly that I had like recently been diagnosed bipolar. So I got, of course, a lot of nice messages being like, hey, that's cool that you're talking about it and blah, blah, blah. And like, I got a lot of those. And then I was like, well, then I started being like in my own head, like, well, I did talk about it, but I talked about it on a show that like a fraction of our listeners hear. So I was like, maybe I should just drop it in the episode because people were saying nice things. Like, you know, it's nice to hear you talk about it and like kind of get rid of the stigma. And they had personal accounts and all these things. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just bring it up on the show. So yeah, I was recently diagnosed with that. I had like a really fucking weird summer, like a super manic summer, like a manic episode, to the point where I was like, I don't know whether I'm like the happiest and healthiest I've ever been, or I'm like so far fucking gone, like in my brain that like, I don't even realize like where I am. And it was the latter, turns out. But you know, I sought out the fucking help that I fucking needed. I went to a psychiatrist and I went to a new therapist that specializes in it. And, you know, things are actually not better. Things are actually not great at all. But that's because I haven't gotten my new medication yet because my psychiatrist went on fucking vacation for like a fucking 8 weeks because I guess that's what we fucking do. So thank you. I'll see you Tuesday, you stupid fucking asshole. I can't wait to fucking rip her a new asshole. Like, fuck off. Like, anyway, but I'll be better soon. It's fine. So everything's great. So if you couldn't tell by my hair, things are going fucking great. I haven't changed my clothes in 2 weeks. Anyway, so I just wanted to say that, and like I appreciated everyone's messages, and it's all really nice. And yeah, and so if I haven't gotten back to you in a while or haven't been talkative, that's actually like a big part of it. Actually, it's the only part of it. So I've just kind of been. What? You too?
No, I said Annie hates you.
Oh, and no, that's actually 100% accurate. So don't fucking give that up. Because now the people, once I'm medicated, will know who they are that I despise. That's actually just kidding. That's just kidding. I appreciate you all. I love talking to all of you so much. That's good stuff. Hey, we got Clive Barker. We don't have Clive Barker. We have Hellraiser, which.
I'm sorry. I'm going back because I interrupted you with a joke, and it's very admirable of you to share that and put yourself on the line like that. So thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think it really was, but people were like, I got a lot of messages being like, "That's crazy," and I'm like, "Oh wow, that's cool, man." Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, maybe it is a bigger deal than I think. Like, there's a lot of shit with that. But anyway, thank you. But we're doing Hellraiser. That's more important. That's way more important.
It's not, but we are doing.
I don't know. Honestly, the last few days of me fucking digging into Hellraiser has been a fucking blast. I love it.
Dude, serial killer. I feel like we need things like serial killer because it occupies my brain so well from like you know everything else that's going on, work, life, everything, and then like I just focus on this and I enjoy diving into it and I fucking read The Hellbound Heart.
I got the audiobook. I didn't get to finish it. I didn't get to finish
158 pages. Dude, I mean, if you saw the first movie, you don't really need to read The Hellbound Heart. The opening scene is better in the book, but everything else is like extremely faithful, which makes sense.
Really?
Clive directed it, but it also makes me appreciate Clive more because you mentioned Stephen King before, and all I could think of is how Stephen King directed Maximum Overdrive, and fucking Clive had no experience.
Zero. And
I know I'm jumping around and getting ahead of it, but just on the topic of the book, this guy, he saw his movies Underworld, or he saw the movies Underworld and Rawhead Rex get adapted from his works, and they're just enormous fucking turds. And he's like, I can't, like, you guys are ruining my reputation. Like, people are watching these, my name's attached to it. I have to do something about this. He's like, I'm going to make my own movie based on this book. He has no experience with it. And he went to the library to check out books on how to film movies. Like, that's actually what he did. He went to the library, and the library that he went to only had 2 books on how to make films, and both were checked out. So he was just like, fuck it. I guess I gotta just make it up as I go and like ask cinematographers and stuff. So kudos to Clive Barker.
Kudos to him. And as I mentioned in the intro, this guy is a real fucking artist, man. He starts out as a fucking author, which he continues to do. He then gets into like painting and obviously filmmaking, and even filmmaking. Like, he does a fucking bang up job on this movie.
He does.
And then fucking steps away and immediately is like, I'm good. And then he ends up doing, again, not to get it too far ahead, he ends up doing Nightbreed, which the studio like fucking chops up and has too much hands on. And then he's like, I'm fucking done with movies. Like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm out of here. And that is fucking admirable, man. Yep. That is crazy. And
then he went on to executive produce, and he did Candyman.
Yes. And I've always liked Clive Barker. I've probably said some dumb shit about him on the show, but that's par for the course. Baby. Yeah, that's the horror show. But I've always actually liked him. I fucking love this guy now. I've dug so far into this dude, and the funny part is sometimes I caught myself making my serial killer notes on Clive Barker and not Hellraiser, but it's hard to like differentiate that two, at least in the first 2 movies. Because he's just so involved in them, and it's like it's hand in hand. Like, Hellraiser 1 is the story of Clive Barker also. So as I mentioned, the serial killer's not on Clive Barker, but I have a lot to say about this guy, man. Like, and I also want to say that Clive created like lifelong jobs for a lot of fucking people.
Yes.
That's fucking nuts.
These people were like established in the BBC. You know, they did the people in his movies. If you lived in Britain at the time, they popped up on BBC movies or in stage plays. You know, they're big in theater. Yep. Then he just made them like they're playing monsters, which, by the way, barely featured in this movie. Which barely. I've seen this movie like 100 times, and I watch it almost every October. And I always like when I do serial killer, I pick up on things that I probably should have been picking up on. But when you're watching movies for fun, like, you don't think about it like this. And it just blows my mind how little these guys are in the movie. And I wanted to read The Hellbound Heart for that same reason, to be like, maybe they were more prominent. They're probably less featured in the movie. It's crazy.
It is. And just like, there's lots of interviews about this movie. That's the other thing I was going to mention was this is somehow the most I've prepared, but I also feel so ill prepared because there's just so much information out there about these movies. Like, Clive is willing to talk about them, and like, so there's interviews upon documentaries, upon behind the scenes. So I did my best. Joe did his best. We're going to give you as much as we can. I'm sure we'll still get emails being like, actually, it's this. Listen, here's the other thing. Clive kind of contradicts himself sometimes, so don't come at me with Clive quotes, because I watch that motherfucker say 2 different things about the same topic.
All the actors, Sean. Well, first off, I said the same thing to Tina. I always eat dinner with my family, and today I was like sweating, being like, I saw like 1,000 YouTube videos I saved that I have to watch, like interviews. She's like, why don't you just go upstairs and like bring your dinner with you? So I did that, and I was like, honestly, like Pepe Sylviaing it, being like, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done in time. Like, I have to watch 2 videos at the same time, blah, blah, blah. But not only does Clive contradict himself, but when you watch a lot of the actors who I've grown to like love all of these people because they care so much about this world.
Oh my God, so much.
They're so like ambiguous. Like, so what do you think Pinhead's like true purpose is? It's like, well, what do you think? That's why he's fucking asking you. Can you just give an answer? Yeah.
It's great. It's fucking great. I do love them. They're quirky as fuck. The whole crew's like fucking a little nutty. And I think that's why it fucking works.
This movie is so, the first one, well, both of them, but it's so like sinister, right? And brooding. But I bet it was a blast to work on. I bet they all had fun doing that. Such a low budget, like working with clients.
Do you remember? And I actually rewatched the whole video because I remember seeing clips of it. Do you remember? I think it was like a few years ago when those clips leaked from them in the makeup room, and it's like all the Cenobites in their fucking gear being like and like making jokes and smoking cigarettes and shit.
Yeah,
it's fucking insane. It's like one of my favorite things. And dude, Doug Bradley, like you'll see Clive, and Clive will be like, it took 6 hours every day to get him in makeup. And then you talk to Doug Bradley and he's like, yeah, it took 6 hours like the first week. And then he's like, and then I figured out how to do it myself and I cut it down to like 2 hours. And you're like,
you said like 2 to 3. Yeah.
Yeah. And Clive's or fucking Doug Bradley's doing it himself. Like what is happening?
This is very do-it-yourself movie. It's honestly incredible. They made it for less than $1 million. And that was Doug Bradley. Doug Bradley was a stage actor, but this was his first feature film.
Oh, yeah. He grew up with fucking Clive Barker. Like, he's known Clive Barker since he was like 16, which is wild.
Wild. It's just friends making a movie. For it to be this good is incredible.
And Clive really, truly is like a tormented artist, I guess you could say. He in his interviews, he will talk about like, he's like, I will not release something I'm not okay with. Like, if it takes me like fucking years. He said like one of his books took him like 4 years. And it's like, that's nuts. And he's like, I just sat there writing it for 4 years. And you're like, dude, what? Like, that's fucking crazy. And a lot of his friends have described him as being like, he'll be writing like with two hands, like two different fucking stories. And like also thinking about like a painting he wants to do. And it's like, the guy just like does not stop. And if you want like a cool glimpse into to Clive, I would suggest listening to Nerdist number 590. I think they changed the name of the podcast, but if you search Nerdist Clive Barker podcast, it'll come up. It's a great interview. The first part is September 2013. It's right after Clive has a multiple strokes and goes into a coma from toxic shock syndrome. Damn. And actually just shortly after Christmas too. So like right around this time, almost dies, 3 strokes, goes into a coma. He wakes up like 3 days in and he's got tubes in him and all this shit. And he's like, I see figures like with all this stuff. And Chris Hardwick, who's interviewing him, is like, that's literally sounds like something out of fucking Hellraiser. And Clive's like, oh, I never even thought about that. That's brilliant. How could you not think of that? He's like, what the fuck? But then he was actually so sick that like they had to stop the interview, and he came back a year later in 2014, and they talk about that. It was to promote that night read because they had that director's cut.
Yeah.
Because for 25 years they lost all the footage. How the fuck does that happen,
man?
Dude, it's fucking mental. It's fucking mental. These fucking morons. So again, I don't want to like get too much into Clive. Dude, all I have are Clive notes. It's so crazy. I have so much fucking information here. It's so fucking, I don't even know what to make of this. It's such a mess. So Clive's 34. He makes his directorial debut with Hellraiser, and it's the result, like you said, of those movies being made. And he's like, he called them abominations. And he said it felt as if
I thought Rawhead Rex was fun, but he's right. Those movies are abominations.
And if that's your story, and you know the story wasn't written like that, like you fucking like look at Hellraiser, like fucking Rawhead Rex is not that. Whatever that is. So like imagine it's like your fucking baby, like you fucking birthed it, and like him being so like specific and like okay,
I would pay to see footage of him at the premiere and then seeing Rawhead Rex's reveal for the first time. Fucking rubber idiot.
And I remember when we did Rawhead Rex, we actually talked about it, how like the studio was like they put blood and shit all over him, and he was like all dirty, and the studio was like, no, like clean him off. So he's got like these pearly white teeth and shit, and you're like, the fuck? He's a fucking demon. Like, what is this? But dude, I would pay for that too, dude. Imagine his fucking face. He must have been fucking steaming. So he goes to his friend, Chris Fig, who zero experience also, but for some reason is like, I can produce a movie. And so Clive's like, what's the least I could spend and expect someone to hire me as a first-time director? and he's like, it's got to be under $1 million, or else they're not gonna do anything. So like, let's do this. So Hellbound Heart is written in 86 or published in 86. It was actually written kind of specifically to be made into a movie because Clive was kind of like just like not throwing stuff at the wall, but creating stories that he thought could be made into a movie. So this was purposefully made to be a movie. They didn't know which story it would be though. So he's thinking under $1 million. He's like, this is a house, some monsters, just get some unknown actors, and we're fucking good to go. So that's what he does. And Roger Corman's company, New World, ends up funding it for just under $1 million, $900,000. And
Roger.
Exactly. And Roger's big idea is like, this is going straight to fucking video. That is until they see the cuts and they're like, holy shit, like, what is this? Like, this is fucking crazy. They end up giving it a worldwide, or not a worldwide release, but a wide release. And it makes 30. Dude, I read that somebody who said it rated 33 million worldwide. I guess that makes sense. I think it was only 14.
14.6 is what I had.
14.6 in the US. I think this website did worldwide. And Pinhead is, like you mentioned earlier, 8 minutes on screen time.
Was that it? 8 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even called Pinhead.
That's not his fucking name.
They named him that on the set. That's like a behind-the-scenes joke, calling him Pinhead.
Not his fucking name.
In the Hellbound Heart, he's called the Engineer. And in the movie, he's just lead Cenobite.
That's cool. But it quickly became apparent that people fucking love this guy, man. Like, people were drawn to this dude, like, instantly.
The Cenobites, they have this appeal, and at the time, it's the late 80s, like the industrial scene is booming, the goth scene is booming. Those guys are icons. They look like they would fit in, like, at your underground rave.
Yeah, and that's where Clive's inspiration came from, was the S&M clubs in New York City.
Club 28, specifically. He walked into Club 28 in New York City and watched people draw blood and pierce each other while dancing. And he was like, this is something.
But all of the reviews were not positive. Roger Ebert called it a bankruptcy of imagination.
Fucking Ebert. He gave it a half star.
He is such a fucking stupid piece of shit. That's like... R.I.P. Fuck you. Dude, a bankruptcy of imagination. What is like... What about this have you ever seen in your life?
The most imaginative movie I've seen.
I've never seen it. You've never seen, like, and like really watching this, and you put yourself in like 86. Joe, how did this even get fucking made and released?
And like you said, he chose this because he was like, hey, all I need is a house because it's like a singular setting and like some no-name actors, and I can do the rest. And the Cenobites are like barely described in the book. He created that. How can you say that's not imaginative?
It's
I've never seen anything like that.
Dude, everything about it is fucking psychotic and never been seen before.
Yes. Chains just ripping flesh.
Dude, like, how did this get greenlit? Like, I still, like, as I was reading it, I was like, I still don't understand who put money into this, because the thing was like, when New World saw the dailies, they like lost their mind and were super excited and immediately were like, I think we got something here. I'd be like, this will play nowhere.
You can't show this. There's a spinning like cylinder with flesh nailed to it and dead rats. Like, what are you showing us? What?
2 severed cocks are on that thing, which I never noticed before until this time. 2 giant fucking dicks are fucking nailed to it. Like, what is happening? It's fucking crazy. And can we also say, and I know this episode's going to go long, and I apologize. So I'm going to try to get through it. Imagine these movies that are released now needing 2.5 hours, 3 fucking hours. How long was Terrifier? 3 hours? Terrifier 2?
Yeah.
It's fucking psychotic. Hellraiser does it in 1 hour and 30 minutes. And the reason you can make that comparison to anything, I don't care what horror movie you pick, that's fucking great. I think I'm going to put Hellraiser above it because it's 1.5 hours. and it's fucking serious. It takes itself seriously. There is not a fucking gag in it. There is not a fucking like moment of brevity in this that makes you be like, oh, it's
dark.
whatever.
It's dark.
It's fucking dark and heavy, and they do it in an hour and 30 minutes, and that's fucking impressive.
Multiple storylines that just are cohesive. You understand what's happening, and you understand like each person's plight. Like
you understand what's happening, and it also makes no fucking sense whatsoever, but you're fucking fine with it.
Wait till part 2. I think part 2 is a great sequel. Part 2 makes so little sense. It's unbelievable.
It's fucking crazy. You did mention the cast. There is one guy that was pretty famous, old Larry.
Andrew Robinson.
Dirty Harry. Famous for Dirty Harry.
Zodiac Killer influenced.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm saying. He was influenced by the Zodiac Killer in that, and he is so iconic in that role that like people mimicked him for every crime movie to come for like the next decade.
Yeah, and he's fucking great, man. And he was like so happy to take this role because he got to finally play a fucking good guy. He was like, dude, I did not think typecasting was like a real thing until Dirty Harry, and then he's like, I literally was never offered like a hero role, a good guy role. He was like, they would only hire me for being a piece of shit. Which is fucking great.
Now, I can't call Larry a hero in this. Nice guy, yes, but he is the biggest fucking schmuck, and he plays that so perfectly.
No, he's a fucking this guy's cucked out, brother.
He's so cucked out. The ultimate cuck, if you will.
I would say the king of cucks.
He's always just like, well, golly gee, how come you don't
I think if he found his brother fucking his wife, I'm not sure he'd be like, well, I'll leave you guys to it.
Dude, there would be yes. I don't think he would say I'll leave you to it, but he'd just be like, I just can't believe you would do this such a thing, and then just mope about it.
Yeah. Also, as the book was titled Hellbound Heart, so that's what they originally wanted to call the movie. But the studio was like, people will think it's a love story. Fun fact, it actually fucking is, kind of.
It most definitely is.
This is a movie about passion, about love, it's actually a fucking pretty deep fucking movie.
Did you get what Clive wanted to call it after the
That's what I was leading up to. So the studio was like, Hellbound Heart we can't do. It sounds like a love story. Can you give us another fucking movie title? And Joe, what was that title?
Sadomasochist from Beyond the Grave. That is so much better. Listen, Hellraiser's cool and all, but that would have been so much fucking better. Man.
Now, the story goes, he gave that title, and the studio was like, absolutely fucking not. Find something else to name it. And then the story says he had just asked everyone on the set for a title, and some 60-year-old woman gave the name Hellraiser.
6-year-old woman first said, I would call this what a woman would do for a good fuck. I was like, whoa, hey, I guess that makes sense. And then they settled on Hellraiser.
See, so I kind of think that story might be true, but here's what I think happened. And I don't know why Clive would lie about it, so it's probably just my imagination running wild. But to me, it sounds like he gave the studio, like he knew the name, he wanted to use the name Hellraiser. That's a pretty intense name for a fucking movie in 86, right? Or 87? 87, sorry. Right?
It was 87, the movie, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So Hellraiser's a pretty intense fucking name for a movie. I think he went in knowing he wanted Hellraiser, but was like, because there's no way Clive sat there with a straight face and said sadomasochist from Beyond
I
the
think
Grave.
he did. Dude, I think that's really his number one, and number two was Hellraiser. And he was like, look, I'm getting one of these two. I'll lead with sadomasochist from hell. And then they'll be like, okay, Hellraiser is fine.
Oh, man, that's fucking amazing. Doug, of course, and famously didn't want to play Pinhead because his face wouldn't be on screen. And as a brand new actor, he felt like everyone needed to see his face. And I love him because, like, again, like, I'm falling in love with a lot of these guys for like not Clive, not the first time, but like Doug for the first time. Like I didn't care.
Yeah, I know
about
you're never
Doug.
too big on. Yeah, because we always see him at the cons and he's never smiling.
Yeah, he
seems like a great guy. He seems like a great guy.
Now I get it. Now he's British, man. That's all there is to it. Sorry for our British listeners, but it's fucking true. He's he's British, and I think he's fucking great. And he was like in interviews, he's like, it would have been the biggest mistake of my fucking life. Like he's like, thank God that did not happen.
8 minutes of screen time and then getting a lifetime role from that, like
lifetime.
Come on.
And no one thought Pinhead was not like a marketing thing. Pinhead was not like, we're going to develop this character that we're going to sell fucking masks of, that we're going to make a sequel of. He was an afterthought, man. Like he was not the center of the fucking movie or ever thought that they would.
Even in part 2, like he has a little more screen time, but at no point in time is the movie. I mean, I know the opening scene and we'll talk about it, but at no point in time is he like the main character of that movie. So it's not till part 3 until it really starts focusing on this villain that everybody likes.
And actually, Butterball, Butterball Cenobite, he was supposed to be the fucking main lead. Design wise, right? Like,
fuck thought of that,
dude, fucking insane, fucking crazy. So it sounds like they had the characters based on the Hellbound Heart, and then they made these costume designs, and I think the leader was originally supposed to be Butterball. But once they started making the costume, it was like that Tim Robinson gag where he's got too much shit on him. And like, I got too much shit on me. Butterball could not open his fucking mouth. So they were like, oh, all right, let's have fucking Doug, do the talking. And that's how he becomes fucking Well, he would have been Pinhead anyway, but that's how Pinhead gets his talking portions. He says, most of my decisions about playing Pinhead were made there and then. I had a sense of power, of majesty, of a kind of beauty. His threat is implied. Look what I did to myself. Now imagine what I can do to you. I think that is the fucking deepest, darkest shit I've ever fucking heard. Like, that's fucking crazy. And it's true, man. Like, Pinhead, like, commands when he's on screen in these two movies.
Doug's voice,
scary as fuck.
It is so commanding, and you hang on to every word he says. And I think that's why the lines are great, but every line he delivers is almost iconic and quotable. As soon as he says it, like, oh shit, like that is like a horror like, lexicon, right?
Yeah, and when they filmed it, like Doug would deliver the line, and Clive would be like, slow it down and minimize it. And he would do it slow and minimize it. And Clive would be like, fucking take it down more. And he was like, dude, like, what the fuck am I going to do? And then it came out on screen and it was like the most powerful shit because it's just his look. That's all you fucking need.
When he says, we'll tear your soul apart.
Oh my God.
It's chilling. It's
fucking
one of the best delivered lines I've ever heard. And this is like Clive's vision. It works. It translated so well from what you can tell this is exactly what he envisioned when he wrote it, and he was able to make it come to life.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Fucking crazy, dude. I fucking love this movie. I just had such a blast reading about it. All right. So with all of that, we covered Clive, we covered Dougie. So I think it's time to get into the first movie.
You want to cover old Claire Higgins? Julia?
Claire Higgins. Julia?
Yes.
Oh, what about her?
First off, I love the fact that she gets like less pale and more attractive the more that the killing occurs and as the movie progresses. And then in part 2, she's like a smoke show. She looks great in part 2.
Yes. Yeah, no, they didn't do her a ton of
the haircut. It's the 80s haircut in that first one.
Bro, that fucking mullet, the slick back fucking sides, the fucking Keymaster Gozer haircut. That shit's
funny you say that, Sean, because when I was watching part 2, I was like, this is like Ghostbusters
Oh,
on acid.
Yes. It actually totally is. It totally
Got such a vibe of that when they're in the hell portal. And it also has both of them have Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty, a great final girl. If you don't know her from this, you might know her as the love interest of the Geico Gecko from the early 2000 commercials. Remember when she's remember when she's holding his hands, swinging around.
She was also in
Slipknot stuff. Yeah, Snuff. Yeah, Snuff.
Okay, now listen here. I'm not gonna allude to anything. I mean, I am. I'm gonna allude to everything here. Corey's a big horror fan, right?
Yes.
Kirsty is fucking hot as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'd put her in my fucking music video too. Would you not?
Yeah. I
Imagine the people.
I'm a little confused.
I'm just saying. I think Corey probably fucking.
Oh, okay.
Not to allude to anything, but it's like I think that sounds like that's what I would fucking do. All right, so number one kicks off with a fucking dude. It's just like fucking iconic line after iconic line in this fucking movie from a guy that's never made a fucking movie in his life
ever. Oh,
what's
I'm
your
so sorry,
pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
I'm so sorry because you get into the opening line, but I do want to point out I love the fact that Sean Chapman plays Frank, the brother Frank, the piece of shit brother.
Yes.
Two things I want to point out. One, he is very British, but this movie takes place in New York City, so they overdubbed almost all of his lines, almost all of them. Yep. And Oliver Smith plays Skinless Frank and Frank the Monster, so he's not even like Sean Chapman also has a great role, and so does Oliver Smith. They're playing the same guy, but at different times, and they both get to come back for the sequel. It's amazing,
fucking nuts. And you know what's crazy was when I was watching this, I was overthinking it, and I was like, "How do you think they did like Skinless Frank? Like, because like otherwise he's the same size." Yeah,
no, they got two different actors. Smart.
That's fucking genius. Dude, I wouldn't have wasted the fucking time. No one would have, except Clive Barker, who was like, he's got to be skinnier because he's got no fucking skin. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
And they chose him because they chose Oliver Smith because he was the skinniest guy like around the set. So like, hey, you're going to be this one. And also,
that is fucking nuts.
Again, this was less than $1 million. Some of the greatest gore and outfits I have ever seen, like to this day, for practical.
Oh yeah.
Practical effects. And just one last, before I interrupt Sean again, one last trivia tidbit for the movie buffs. Filmed in the same studio as all the early James Bond films. So, there you go. Pinewood Studios.
What was filmed in a studio?
This. That's where the set
all
was.
Filmed in one house.
They did shots at Pinewood Studios, so same with the second one.
Okay.
There's scenes,
definitely.
Yeah, there's scenes outside of the house.
The cast said like they went to the fucking house and they were like, this house is fucking disgusting. So what you see in this fucking house that looks awful and scary, they were like, yeah, no, we thought the same fucking thing. Like this was a fucking nightmare. I don't know if they had to go all out in decorating it. So so movie opens with that iconic line, "What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?"
Dirtiest fingernails I've ever seen, by the way.
That was so fucking gross. That was just so unnecessary. It was so fucking gross. The dirtiest fingernails in the game. Cotton appears to be in a foreign land looking to purchase a box, which he does get. This boy starts fucking around with this box. Lights start turning on, and we see hooks fly out of the walls, rip them to shreds. The house is left in shambles. There's rotten food all over the house. And suddenly we go back up to the attic and there's just fucking body parts. You don't see what happens to who will turn out to be Frank Cotton. You don't see what happens to him yet. But there's just fucking... The one thing in these movies that honestly like makes me like... I don't want to say it makes me queasy, but it it's unsettling. Is like the blood is never just blood. It's like blood and fucking like there's shit
gore.
in it.
Dude, it's just pure gore. Yeah, chunks.
Dude, it's chunks in every setting. It's fucking vile. So the floor is just covered in this shit. And then there's these giant pillars. There's chains everywhere. The pillars, like Joe mentioned, have fucking mice fucking nailed to them, body parts nailed to them.
Which, by the way, he had to go to court and prove that he didn't actually nail mice. He had to bring them mechanical mice. Yep. He had to do their old Ruggiero Deodato, rest in peace, and prove that he did not actually harm mice.
I'm glad people are like worried about that. There's probably fucking other things you could have been fucking worried
I mean,
about.
the flesh being ripped.
That guy was like for sure murdered. There was an accident involving hooks in the second one, which we'll get to, but you know, fucking they fucked some people up. And the floor is just covered in fucking blood. And we see our Cenobites digging through this mess and reconstructing Cotton's face like a fucking puzzle.
Yes.
Pinhead picks up the box, restores it to its original state. And suddenly, and by the way, the box, I'm going to call it a puzzle box. I'm going to call it a million things other than the lament configuration. The lament configuration. Great name. I fucking love that name for it. I'm not going to say it every single fucking time. So
can I just say that this lament configuration is supposed to be like impossible to open. That's what we're learning from this first scene. Like it's very difficult. Those who have it are probably not going to open it, and those who open it are going to experience, sensations from beyond this world. Literally every single person that comes in contact with this box in every movie in the series opens it immediately. I've never seen people struggle less. Dude, yeah. I couldn't solve a Rubik's Cube as fast as these people solve a lament configuration. It's supposed to be like one of the most impossible things in the world to get going.
These fucking Joe, I have the same exact fucking note because especially in the second one, they actually make a real effort to tell you it's like, hey, you need a puzzle master to fuck with the lament configuration. Like you need a fucking puzzle expert. You don't.
Old 12-year-old Tiffany.
Fucking Kirsty.
By the way, all they do is spin the top and then the buttons come out and you push it down.
They all do. By the way, sometimes it just does it on its own. Like fucking in the second one, fucking Tiffany fucking opens it and it comes up and then just turns around and goes back in on itself. And I was like, what the fuck? This thing does the work for you. And fucking old Pinhead's like, oh, you figured out my puzzle.
Also, that's another thing I want to say. And I know we'll talk about it more. Cenobites, they're, as we find out here, angels to some, demons to others. Or I might have said that backwards. They're the easiest group of creatures to bamboozle and talk your way out of. They're coming from like hell, right? They're coming from another dimension, and they are ulterior beings with powers. And every time they're like, "We're going to rip you piece by piece," and every time Kirsty is just like, "But wait, what about this?" And they always listen. They're like, maybe. Maybe we'll let you do that. And everyone always escapes from them. Frank escapes. Kirsty escapes. Julia escapes.
It's like the funniest shit. It's the funniest shit because it's true. Kirsty's always like, oh, but what if? What if?
And they're all the Cenobites are like, this better not be another trick. You guys are fucking Cenobites. You have powers. You guys are all knowing. Of course it's a
Just
trick.
Rip them apart. What does it matter? What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my god. Pinhead gets the box, restores it, and suddenly the house is totally clear. There's nothing there. We're then introduced to Larry and Julia Cotton. This is Larry's second wife. And Larry is Frank's brother. And they've decided to move into this house. It's a family-owned house. The grandmother, somebody owned it, died. And Frank, he knows, has been living out of it. And Larry's not too fond of Frank because Frank is a fucking deadbeat. He's a criminal. He's a bad dude, man. He's not a good fucking guy. And so Larry, a lot of times, is like, fucking Frank was probably squatting here. That's why it's a fucking mess. And by the way, he's right.
He's 100% right.
He's not incorrect.
And also, by the way, I did write this down. I should have said it when you mentioned about the set location. The location is 187 Dollis Hill Lane in London, and it was empty and being put up for sale because there was a suicide that had occurred in the house. And Clive saw that and was like, "Hey, I'll take this off your hands for a bit and just film a movie here," which is pretty fitting for the movie Hellraiser. Like, it's so
for sure.
dark and like grim.
Oh, you can feel it in that too, man. It's like not good. So they go to clean up the house. You got some maggots and funkin' Frank's insane sex photographs. Which, okay. But here's the weird part. Julia takes them.
She does.
Which, you thought that would be like let's see what's going to happen here. We cut right to a flashback of Frank just fucking the shit out of
showing up in the rain. Just be like, "Hey, I'm here for the wedding," and fucking his brother's fiance on top of her wedding dress.
On top of her wedding dress in the fucking bedroom. Holy moly, that was wild. What a way to kick off a fucking movie. And Julia, this is not a one-time. Well, it is a one-time fling, but for Julia, she's in fucking love.
She loves him.
She is in love. She's like, "I'll do anything you want."
Which I know.
And Frank's like,
I know you said there's like no humor in this, but now thinking about it, like that's so fucking funny because she's in love with this renegade badass like James Dean, and has to wake up every day to this bumbling idiot just be like, "Oh, how this happened."
Julia's willing to do anything, but Frank, he's in search of something way crazier than fucking his brother's wife. We're then introduced to Kirsty, daughter of Larry. Never seen a fucking adult woman so excited to have her own bedroom, but here we are. She's thrilled. She keeps mentioning it. She mentions it 3 times in this scene.
Then she gets her own place.
Yeah, like immediately. She's like actually never in the house. She just like shows up and when all this shit happens. Larry goes to the attic where Julia is, and Larry cuts his hand. And like as we mentioned, Larry won't even look at it. He's like, I can't even look at it.
He will faint.
Which like in this moment, in this very brief moment, you're like, I get it, Julia.
Dude, I know. What he's making such a big deal out of it. Which I know people are like that. Like I know people don't like the sight of blood, but this guy's a fucking man. Compared to his brother, badass renegade.
Dude, like honestly, in this moment, there's not a single other point where I'm like, yes, Julia, you made a right decision. Or yeah, Frank is a good choice. That's never gone through my mind, except in this one scene where I was like, I honestly cringed and I was like, I get it. Like I would have fucked Frank too. I would have just had to just get it out of your fucking system. But Larry's just spilling blood everywhere from his fucking hand. It's most blood I've ever seen. And it gets absorbed into the wood. It goes down and somehow powers a little heart that's like in the fucking floorboards, creating a fucking horrifying little zombie skeleton thing.
Again, for this budget, for a filmmaker who's never made a film, it's pretty damn good.
Dude, I listened to an interview with the people that did special effects. They're like, "Oh, it was simple. It's just like melted wax and we pulled wires out of it." And I was like, that's not what fucking happened. Like, look at that. That looks so fucking good. This looks better than 2. There's things in 2 that look like shit compared to 1. Like this looks.
I don't know how they pulled it off. Everything is gross to look at. Everything's stomach turning to look at. And yeah, some of the effects with like the skeletons and especially at the end, that last scene, they don't age well, but you can still appreciate it. They look good for what they had.
Absolutely. Well, while that's going on, they're having a dinner party. Julia, not feeling it. She's not feeling Larry very much. Goes upstairs and finds fucking Frank the zombie with no legs. He's a torso and a head. And he's like, I need your fucking help. And Julia's like, anything for you, Frank, who, again, is a torso.
A bloody pulp of a torso. And he's always just like, don't look at me. How could anyone not look at you? Fucking freak.
That help that he requests is actually for Julia to lure men into her home so Frank can eat them. Now, it's not like truly eating. It's this like soul sucking with his fingers. But it's still upsetting. It's very upsetting to watch. It's not fun.
And again, Julia is killing these people. Julia and Frank together are the real villains of this story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They are. I mean, most of the story, as we said, Pinhead's only on it for 8 minutes. It's them murdering people. She's luring people back, hitting them in the head with hammers, so Frank can devour them.
Dude, that first murder she has with the fucking hammer is fucking brutal.
Sickening.
His fucking teeth are fucked up. It's all fucked up, man. I hate it.
And dude, those actors that are playing those guys are doing it so well because every time, you like feel their pain because they realize what's happened.
Yes.
Like they get there and they just want to they feel like they're gonna have sex or hook up with this lady. And they're like, oh shit, like something's wrong. This lady's gonna kill me. And like there's always that panic, and they do a great job conveying that.
Yeah, but they still go into the fucking attic, which is fucking crazy because
you've been horned up before, like maybe this isn't a good. Does that mean it's like my dick has led me to places and I wouldn't even go with the gun? It's true. It is. You're already there.
True. That attic is fucking gross, but I do agree that I agree. I'd probably end up there because I'd be like, oh yeah, we won't leave a trace. She doesn't want to fuck in her husband's bed. I get it. That makes sense. We'll fuck in the attic. She could have at least thrown a fucking.
In hindsight, you'd be like, I don't know why I did that, but you would definitely do it at the moment.
Listen, yeah, we all the fact that we're still alive is just fucking alarming. So she starts bludgeoning dudes with hammers. The first time, very remorseful. And Frank is like, turn around so I can eat him.
I said, don't look.
Yeah, and like you don't see it, but you see enough that's like it's almost like so unnatural that like it fucking like it creeps you the fuck out when he like because he like crawls over on his fucking little arms, and you're like, oh shit. And then and then she re-enters after that first guy, and she sees this. We get to see him after, and he's skinless. He's got this like, what would you even call that? Like a ghoulish face, like a fucking twisted, mangled face. Yeah. Oh, it's fucking crazy. It's horrific. And she's just like, Jesus Christ. That doesn't last long because the next guy she kills, she's just like filing her nails outside while Frank fucking.
She's over it. Came to terms with this whole situation
really
very
fucking
quickly.
Fast. Really fucking fast.
Can we go back to that dinner scene for a second? Because Julia, she laughed because she wasn't feeling it. Kirsty, have you ever seen anyone get more horned up over a shitty cigarette trick in your entire life? That guy we've seen people do it. It's an old party trick, but like,
yes,
his is so small, and he flips the lit end into his mouth and flips it back out. This girl is fucking soaked. She is so turned on by this guy's cigarette trick. It's unbelievable. Easily impressible. I guess everyone in this fucking movie is kind of like that, but Kirsty especially. Gotta hang around fucking Larry all day. No wonder.
That makes sense. That adds up. This guy's such a bad boy. Yeah. So Frank is like, it's making me whole again. He now has some legs. He's got some bones, still skinless. And he's like, I need like one, maybe two more of these fucking guys. And she's like, okay. Which is insane. Of course, Larry comes home while this is happening. So it's a little bit of a little almost catches them in the act. And he knocks on the door and says, "Want a cookie, little girl?" I don't know why. And I don't think he does either. And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Okay." That's fucking end of scene. While this is going down, though, Kirsty is being followed by some fucking weirdo, a vagrant of sorts.
Yeah.
We also see her working at a pet store doing a terrible job, just screaming at someone. Well, that's because the only pet they have in there are fucking 8,000 birds. So she's got to fucking scream over them, squawking. This lady's like, what? And she just screams. I hate that scene so much. Fucking gave me a fucking headache. Anyway, all this.
Well, I was hoping the book would explain the scene a little more, because this man that you said that was following her comes into the store and just eats a bunch of crickets like in front of her. He's just shoving them in his mouth and eating them while she's like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, get the hell out of here!" That does nothing to the plot.
No.
There's no mention of that in the book. I think either that guy just walked in there and did that, or Clive. I mean, it was the late '80s in New York City that he was getting his inspiration from. He was probably was just a thing that he saw. I was like, I guess that's what Americans do.
That makes a lot more sense. And yeah, like you said, it doesn't add anything to the story. When she's like, leave, he's like, he fucking leaves. So. no.
We got to make people think this takes place in America. Let's just have some fucking disgusting freak start eating bugs.
Which accurate. Julia murders another dude. This time again, way less sympathetic. And this is when she turns into fucking Gozar with the slick back mullet, watching boxing. They're fucking laid out on a couch, like one of those fucking chaise that like models lay on, while Larry's fucking shadow boxing, watching real boxing happening. And it's way too long of a scene for this. And he's like, "Well, I thought you didn't like boxing." She's like, "I've seen worse." I'd be like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Since when? What are you saying? And while this is going on, Frank is now wearing fucking clothes, which a bit too fucking early, because you're still just fucking blood. You're covered in blood. But this gives us Frank to tell us about the cube, and he gives us a little more insight into the lament configuration, explaining he had seen it all, done it all, and he fucking lusted for more. Plain and pleasure, indivisible. And Frank is a fucking bloody fucking pulp of a corpse, as you said, and he appears to have zero regrets about the lament configuration. Like, it's not like he's like, it's a fucking nightmare. He's like, oh God, what a fucking ride. Like, he was like, they tore me to fucking shreds. Like, he's almost excited rehashing this story.
Which is weird, because he's escaped. Like, he wants to be back whole again. He doesn't want to be back.
Correct. But yeah. But aren't they like, I feel like they're done with him. He escaped. Oh, yeah, I guess.
No, he escaped. Because that's what Kirsty bribes the Cenobites with. Because they're like, the box you opened, right. We came, we're going to fucking murder you. She's like, but wait, I have something you want. Like,
yeah.
She keeps using on them.
Hey, ladies, this is not marriage material. Don't look for a guy like this. Somebody that needs a fucking pleasure box. Unearth all of his fucking wildest dreams. But then they start talking about the Cenobites like they're people. And like, Julia's like, they'll never find us in the whole wide world. And Frank's like, yeah, you're totally right. It's like, what? Wait, what? Frank, I think you're misleading her about what these creatures are and that they appear to travel space and time. So,
well, he definitely is. And that is why she is fucking big mad in part 2. Like, She has a reunion with Frank, and she is none too pleased, despite the whole first movie lusting for him.
Yeah. So Frank's stomping around upstairs. This leads Larry to go stomping. When I say stomping, this motherfucker, he's like, no one could find out about me. And then it's just boom,
rolling around.
Stomping around. Punching the fucking walls. They're like, what the fuck is happening? Fucking Larry's like, what the fuck was that?
He does this in the book, and in the book he's just like, I had to see the sunrise. Or I forget what he says. Like, you could have done that a little quieter, fucking idiot.
Oh my God. Yeah. So Julie tries to fuck Larry to get him away from the attic. And when he does that, Frank comes in to kill Larry on top of her. She starts crying, and then Larry's like, Jesus fucking Christ, I don't know what to make of you. Which, not the most polite thing, but also you were almost murdered, so.
It was a fair reaction. All this guy wants is to have sex because that's where like they're moving in there,
That's
right?
true.
They're trying
That's
to rekindle their
true.
romance. And
right.
He's like, why do you hate me? He says that at some point. He's like, why do you hate me? It's like, you want nothing to do with me. And now she's finally like, fuck me, like, take me in the bed. But she's saving him. And she just starts crying. It's like, I can't do this. I'd be like,
you're right. And it really is actually like, this is actually their last effort. This is their last ditch effort to make this marriage work. And Larry tells that to Kirsty. They go out to dinner. They kind of have that conversation, and he kind of reveals that like Julie's been home and won't leave the fucking house. So Kirsty goes to go check out the house, and checks and finds Julia bringing men home.
yes,
she thinks it's an affair.
Of course. Imagine her first thought was just like, I bet there's a fucking the corpse of my skinless uncle has been reanimated upstairs.
There's probably movies that have done that. We probably covered them. I just don't remember. Yeah, and that's what happens. Kirsty goes upstairs to see what's going on. This fucking poor sap that Julia brought home falls through the door, fucking deader than a doornail. But Kirsty goes to reach out for him, and then fucking Uncle Frank fucking flies out and is like, hey, Kirsty. This guy sucks at
he sucks at hiding, and like have some self-awareness, because he's aware, right? He's aware what he looks like. He keeps telling Julia not to look at him, and now he's just like, look at me, it's your uncle. You don't recognize your old Uncle Frank. Look how you've grown.
He put on like a fucking pair of slacks and a dress shirt and suddenly thinks he's fucking Vision from fucking Marvel. Like, no, bro, you're fucking a corpse. You're a fucking bloody corpse. No one's okay with this. It's fucking crazy. And Frank might want to fuck Kirsty, and by might, for sure, he wants to fuck Kirsty. He wants to fuck Kirsty. And yeah, that's fucking nuts. And Uncle Frank even says, come to daddy to her, which will come into play a little bit later.
But luckily, apparently his balls had regenerated, because she needs him right in it, and fucking doubles him over.
Which he says, he had mentioned earlier, his nerves are starting to work. So that's why that happens. Frank and Kirsty have a little bit of a fight, but Kirsty grabs the lament configuration, throws it out the window, runs away, grabs it outside, and Frank is just beside himself.
This is a great scene because Frank's like, you can't, right before she throws it out, she's like, you can't do anything to me. Like, look at me. I've already died. Like, what can you possibly do to me? And then when she picks up the box, because she's looking for a weapon to hit him with, the way that the actor conveys, like, he's like, oh, fuck, like, put that down. And then he says it, but he's selling it with his eyes. And then Chrissy's like, oh, shit, this is important to him.
That's actually a good point. Like, Frank's acting there is actually probably the best. Skinless Frank's acting there is probably the best. Because, like you said, it's a very, like, this guy's been like a fucking ham the whole time and just been like, let's fucking party. Let me eat people. And suddenly he's like, hey, everyone just fucking relax. Like, everyone, let's just take it down a notch. Like, it's the only time he shows like patience and restraint.
In the book, he's like, I'm not fucking murder you, you stupid piece of shit. And then she grabs it, and then he's like, can you give that back? And she's like, I want you to say please. And he's like, can you please give that back? And then she throws it out the window. So it makes sense in here, too. He's like, for some reason, it makes him way more conserved.
Yeah. As she goes to a hospital, actually, I shouldn't say that. She finds herself at a hospital with no recollection of how she ended up there. Doctor pulls out the puzzle box and is like, the cops want to fucking talk to you, so you better figure out this puzzle box real fucking fast. Well, Kirsty fucks around and is about to find out, because she opens up that goddamn lament configuration again, just by touching it. Basically, you fucking graze this fucking thing and it fucking flies open. And the hospital splits open, revealing hell. I guess it's hell, right? Also Bowser's castle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, part 2 explains a little bit more that it's like your personal hell. It's not like hell in the Christian sense, but it's
which I like. I think that makes a lot of sense. And fuck, I guess I'll save it till 2. She goes down this hall that appears. She's greeted by this fucking scorpion ass lanternfish. What do they call that? Lanternfish ass fucking monster.
Angler.
It's fucking insane. Oh my god, it's fucking nuts. It chases her down the hall until she makes it back to the hospital, and the wall suddenly seals. She's like smacking the box, trying to figure out some stuff. Nothing's happening. Hospital starts smoking, and we are introduced again to our Cenobites, but this time a little more personal, a little more personal. Chattering Cenobite shows up. He's terrifying. Yep. Hate that.
He's got the and things in his mouth, pulling his mouth open.
Yeah, and he sticks his 2 fingers in fucking Kirsty's fucking mouth for this whole scene, and I don't know how that was allowed to do to an actress, but it was. I hated it. And then we see Pinhead, of course, and Butterball. Pinhead gives a dope-ass dialogue, of who the Cenobites are, these like travelers of experiences. It's never like we're demons from hell and we're here to like fuck you and tear you apart. It's like this like very like over the top theatrical explanation of what they do. Yeah. And not very clear either.
And it differs from person to person, because that's why he says like it's whatever you like, however big a piece of shit you are, you'll have a different experience than others.
Yeah. Yep. And then Kirsty's crying and he says, "No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering."
Hall of Fame. Everything he says here is
psychotic.
Yeah.
It's psychotic.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If you had a lament configuration,
yes,
would you rather it open and reveal the Cenobites as is, or an eternity with Paul alphabetizing his Criterion collection?
I'd probably take the Cenobites because Frank seems pretty happy with the service he was provided. Frank's not complaining. That's all I'm going to say. No complaints from Frank. Actually, everyone that goes in there is kind of like, "Hey man, I wish I did this fucking sooner." Fucking in part 2, the fucking doctor's like, "Fuck, what took me so long?"
Well, I mean, that doctor's a fucking idiot.
That doctor's a fucking menace. It's fucking nuts.
Kills all the Cenobites.
Kirsty has the foresight to be like, "Hey, you know that motherfucker Frank Cotton, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, so."
That's what I'm saying. They're like 2 inches. They're like 2 seconds from destroying her. And the female Cenobite who has a vagina on her neck, like, because she doesn't have a name. She's just called female.
She's female Cenobite. Yep.
She's like, "Stop talking. We're going to kill you. Like, the time is now." And Chrissy is like, "Hey, remember this guy? I can get him to you." And then I think Pinhead's even like, "What? Like, why do we want that?" And she's like, "I don't know. Don't you?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think we do. I think we might." Which I can't wait to talk about part 2, because she bamboozles him so hard in that one, where she's just like, "Remember this?" It's like, "No," and she's like, "Yeah, you do." And then he does remember it.
What is that fucking saying? Christy can sell a ketchup popsicle to a fucking, I don't know. What's the fucking, how's that saying go?
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
A ketchup popsicle?
Sell a ketchup popsicle. It's like means you could sell anything. He could sell a ketchup popsicle. I don't know what it says. What's your best he could sell it to a... Oh, it's from Tommy Boy. He could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. That's Kirsty, man. She like talks these Cenobites into everything. And it's also...
She's not that good at selling.
She's not. It's also part of their low
They're
IQ.
Idiots.
But also it's so crazy because all the other Cenobites are not in the same headspace as Pinhead. Because, like, all of them in 1 and 2 are constantly like, let's just fucking kill them. Whether it's Kirsty or someone else. And Pinhead's like, well, hang on, let's just fucking let her speak her fucking piece.
Dude,
let's hear it when she's got.
And the female Cenobite comes when Kirsty opens the box again. She's like, finally, like, we fucked up last time.
Yeah.
Now we got you. And Pinhead's like, well, let's hear her out for a second.
Why don't we just let her explore the tunnels for a bit before we fucking kill her?
Wait, that's exactly
what they do. They're like, why don't you just go take a look?
That's so funny. Well, you're fucked, but you might as well enjoy the scenery before we get to it. It's so stupid.
And the other Cenobites are always like, can we just kill her? And he's like, I don't know. That seems fucking insane, but why would we do something like that? That's crazy. This is a democracy. Let's fucking hear her out. And Kirsty talks them into like getting Frank Cotton, which again, like you mentioned, they're like Pinhead's like, who the fuck gives a shit? And then she's like, I don't know, he escaped. And he's like, oh yeah, it's true. All right, well, if you show him to us, you better not be fucking lying. And she's like, I'm not. And he's like, well, we'll tear your soul apart if you're not, and if you do. that's where the line "we'll tear your soul apart" comes from.
Yes,
it's kind of funny in hindsight. Like, it's this moment of negotiation.
You better not be pulling my leg.
This better not be a fucking fib. Which they mention in 2. They like reference that they've been tricked in the past. Like they mention it. Like, he's like, we've been like tricked too many times or something. It's just like a constant thing for these poor fucking Cenobites. Their fucking brains are scrambled out there in hell. It's just too much fucking, man. Too much fucking, too much skin pulling. Meanwhile, Julia and Frank are panicking because now somebody knows. And when Julia was like, shit, she's going to tell him. I was like, how does she know she's going to tell the Cenobites? And then I was like, oh, she's talking about the fucking police. Okay. Kirsty comes home screaming for her dad, which Julia hears, lets her in, and we see Larry. But Larry's not looking so hot. He is very wet and like this has like melted skin around his forehead. So I think it's everyone that's watching this assumes that Frank has taken the skin of his brother Larry to trick Kirsty or to live his life.
Kudos to Andrew Robinson because he's acting like that. It's such a good job acting because he's acting like himself, but not like himself, just a little bit off.
Well, and you know, that's funny because like I mentioned before, like he was like excited to play like a good guy, but you know, in Clive Barker's head, he's like, this is the fucking baddest motherfucker. Hopefully he can act good for like fucking 45 minutes. And then we get to turn him back into a fucking psycho. Like, which he does. Kirsty tells Flary, that Frank is going to kill him.
Flary.
And Flary's like, don't worry, he's fucking dead. I killed him. And Kirsty, thank God, is like, that seems kind of fucking weird. Can I see the fucking body? And he's like, yeah, go fucking look at it. Which, like, this is just like not like, dude, Larry's a Larry. Like, you would immediately know Larry's been fucking abducted.
Yes.
But she goes upstairs and the door closes. And our Cenobites are back. And they see the fucking bloody corpse on the ground of the attic, which is actually Larry. And Pinhead goes, we want the man who did this. Which isn't like I don't know how to explain this. I really like this scene is what I'm trying to say, I guess. I just liked that they knew immediately what the fuck was going on. Like, they were like, fucking Frank did this. Like, I'm going to fuck this guy up. Like, but Kirsty does not think that yet. She still thinks that that's her fucking dad dead on, or that her dad killed Frank.
Yeah.
So Julie is trying to stop this. Flary is like, we need to stay here. Why are you fucking running around? Come to daddy. And it finally hit, when he says that, it hits Kirsty that this is actually Frank.
Yes.
So Frank is in the house. Kirsty scratches his face. He gets pissed. He's about to stab Kirsty.
But
she moves. And Julia gets got.
Stabs her.
And wastes zero fucking time absorbing her.
Eats her immediately.
The fastest he's ever done it. Before you can pull the knife out, his fucking hands in her fucking throat. Sucking her dry.
She has altered her life to bring this disgusting mess of a thing back to human form, and he's immediately eats her
multiple times. He fucking murders her.
Which is why
nothing.
She is pissed in part 2.
Yeah. Nothing personal, baby, he says. Kirsty lures Frank upstairs. You got a fun little jump scare in there, too. Frank thinks he's got her dead to rights, though, in the attic. Dude, this fucking movie fucking rocks. We see the same lights from the very beginning of the movie on those, like, slatted boards. What do they call those? It's when you have, like... you don't have drywall. It's like that other shit. But anyway, we see lights. Yeah, it's like plaster walls. Like that's the backing, right? And then you see these lights coming through, like in the beginning of the movie, and out come our fucking Cenobites, baby. And Frank is so fucking pissed.
Like, talk about the acting. And you were saying how he turns into a villain here. This guy, I mean, listen, buddy, you should have been typecast because you're so fucking good as a villain. When he's just like, "You set me up, bitch!" Like, man, what a line, what a delivery.
And again, Pinhead has this weird line, and in the 2, I don't want to say I like bashed it for this in my notes, but like I took a bunch of notes where I was like, Pinhead's an anti-hero in this in some ways.
Part 2.
And in this, he has glimpses of that also, because even here he's like, this isn't for your eyes. Like, as if he gives a fuck, right? Like, why the fuck would you give a shit?
Yeah, because he wants to kill her after.
Yeah, well, I know, I just thought of that, so I fucking take it back. So that's just a weird line, but I do like
also, she still watches it, doesn't she?
Yeah. She watches the whole fucking thing. It's fucking crazy. Like, dude, like I said, if a guy with pins in his fucking face tells you not to watch something, just fucking don't watch it. It's my fucking idea. Because what she watches is fucking one of the most insane fucking kills ever.
Larry's face, for those who haven't seen it, it's a very iconic horror shot, but his face is being pulled in every direction by hooks. And the makeup there, hooks. A+.
Nuts. And then he's licking his fucking lips, looking Kirsty dead in the fucking eye, which is fucking nuts. And then he just says, Jesus wept. And then they fucking explode him.
Now, he improvised Jesus wept.
Yeah.
It was not scripted. The original line was supposed to be, fuck you. And then get ripped apart.
I like Jesus wept a lot more.
Do you? I know it's such a classic line. Fuck you is so funny to be your last word.
Fuck you would be
the staring at Curtis
to your niece.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Kirsty tries to escape, but female Cenobite stops her. She does find the lament configuration in Julia's skinned and chained hands.
Again, these Cenobites, we just watched. They can shoot chains and get you from across the room. And Pinhead's like, Pinhead's in the same room as her. Don't touch that. And she's like slow motion pressing the button. He's like, ah!
Which she has to do every time. Like, she presses it down and you're like, oh, she figured it out. But she has to like go around like pressing it in front of each one. And then they're like, ah! And then they get like sucked away. I don't understand that. But,
it doesn't take away from it because I think the movie's great. But like when you're dissecting it, just stop her. You guys have the ability to fucking stop her. Please don't touch that.
Yeah. So she finds that box. Pinhead shows up behind her. We have such sights to show you. And she figures out the box and sends them all away. Don't do that. go to hell. I think she sends Pinhead away first, which is like kind of fucking crazy, right? Like in terms of a franchise, like this guy is iconic and he's the guy that she gets first. He like fucking throwaway fucking villain. The house is literally crumbling.
I just thought earlier I was complaining about the vagrant and how he serves no purpose, but I just remembered his involvement coming up. So
yes, yeah. I mean, is he though? Like, what the fuck is the point of that? But
I mean, it doesn't advance
cut that all out, and the movie doesn't change at all. The house is crumbling, but thankfully her boyfriend shows up and lets himself into the collapsing home, which a great move. Chatterbox is still in the house. She gets him. Lament configuration thing is kind of weird because she's just like zapping each one. Butterball almost gets Steve, the boyfriend, but he avoids it. They think they're done. They open the front door and out comes fucking Scorpion Hot Dog Baby to attack them again. A character that is like, I feel like no one really fucking talks about at all. And it's kind of like gets as much screen time as fucking Pinhead, which is crazy. Sure. It's fucking nuts. And by the way, this scene is great because this thing is in the doorway trying to attack them. They're not moving. And like the monster and Kirsty are having like a fucking like paw game. Like they're just like, dude, Kirsty picks up the thing and it like smacks it out of her fucking hand, but not with like that much force. Just like a fucking like forced fumble. Like it's just like one of those like weird little taps that like knocks it out of your hand. I kind of fucking loved that. And then I also love that she's trying to figure it out, trying to get this shit closed so she can get rid of this fucking monster. And fucking Steve goes to like be like, hey, I can do it. And she's like, fuck off. Like, dude, she fucking like elbows him and is like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Which I fucking love because like, bro, you just showed the fuck up. Like, look at what's happening. Get the fuck out of here.
And that's like an ultimate final girl move. Like she, like yes. I honestly think she's one of the greatest final girls of all time. And
yes,
that's like she doesn't need anybody else. She's got this. Get the fuck out of here.
That fucking dumbass dickhead. Fuck that guy.
Cool. Go do your cigarette trick.
Go do your fucking magic tricks. Fucking do it for this fucking scorpion thing. He'll fucking imagine he's like, whoa, what the fuck? What sights? What sights, Steve? Steve's just in hell doing fucking sleight of hand magic. Not even magic, just fucking party tricks. They do send it away though. Also, how happy would you have been though to have a fucking witness with you? Because in a lot of these endings, I'm always like, oh man, like you're just the crazy one. Like no one saw it.
Yeah.
But this one, like a fucking person saw it and was like, holy shit.
Which is so funny because part 2 picks up immediately after, and they're just like, oh, don't you worry about Steve. He's fine. And he never showed up again.
Yeah, don't worry about home. Steve. He told us the same thing you did, that cuckoo banana story, but we sent him home. You're going to the fucking loony bin, lady. What the fuck? I love that cop for like the 3 seconds he's in the movie.
Dude, that guy.
Hey, wiseacre.
Talking to somebody who he acknowledges is like, you've had like a psychotic break and we're going to get you help, like psychiatric help. But then he's immediately like, you fucking psycho loon. Shut the fuck up. Tell the truth.
You killed your whole family. Just fess up to it. Hey, they go outside. They make it outside. Hey, remember that fucking bizarre vagrant? Well, he watches them throw a puzzle box into the fire. He then walks over to it, pulls it out, gets engulfed in flames, and turns into a dragon skeleton and flies away. That's
and he ends up giving the box back to the same merchant who sold it to Frank in the beginning. Which, forget about that part if you're going to watch part 2 immediately after.
What's your pleasure, sir? Also, I think he is the guy. He is the merchant.
He is the merchant? The vagrant is
I think so. Because at the end of 2, he's the one that says, "What's your pleasure, sir?" His face is on the oblong.
Why is the box back in 2? If it's back with him. Right, I'm not missing.
There's a lot of boxes. There's more than one.
seems ill-advised.
I don't know who came up with that idea. I mean, probably one of these fucking idiot Cenobites who can't fucking keep their fucking head on straight. Bunch of fucking morons. Let's just make a ton of them. Dude, this is so funny. I think the theory here is that the Cenobites are like actually like severely low IQ, and like they can't, like, dude, they're like
look at Butterbean and Chatterbox.
Dude, and they're like, let's make a puzzle that no one can do, and everyone's like, do I press this fucking button? And then it just fucking
no.
Whoa! We should probably make like 10 more because no one will solve it. They're just busy all the time going to all these boxes. Pennant's probably like, Jesus fucking Christ. Well, so Hellraiser comes out 87. By 1988, Hellbound Hellraiser 2 is released. A little nod to the original title of the story, Hellbound Heart. They included that, just calling it Hellbound Hellraiser 2. Big success after the first one. Doug Bradley was actually on the cover of Time Out magazine here in the States. Not credited. It was like Pinhead. Not even Doug Bradley was on it. And he was like, dude, no one's going to know who the fuck I am. He comes to the United States for the first time, actually after this, to do like publicity. He does the Fangoria Horror Convention. There was a fucking line around the block for people waiting to meet Doug Bradley. And that's when he was like, oh, fuck. Like, this is like a real fucking thing. Like, this is crazy. And I think
still to this day, like, he's popping at cons. People are
always, man. It's really cool. And actually, I saw I watched a full thing on the it was a panel of the Cenobites at a Monster Mania con, and I was like, I probably would have listened to that. That was like the coolest one for sure. And I was like, I don't know. These guys are just like, they don't seem to ham it up all that much. You know what I mean? A lot of these people at the cons, like, they kind of like over glorify themselves. And these guys are just like, we're so fucking happy that Clive put us in this fucking movie, and like, we got a fucking career out of it. Like, they're all just like, it is what it is, man. And it's fucking great. Real quick, before we jump into this, what did you think about this movie?
About part
just
two?
Generally, two.
Like, in terms of enjoyment, or?
Yeah, just like, how do you like it? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Okay, so Hellraiser 2, oddly enough, I think I've said this on the show before. This was always what I would put on when I had a girl come back to my place. I would always put Hellbound 2. In hindsight,
wait, before
not a great idea.
Okay. Because I thought about that while I was watching this, and I was like, what the fuck was he doing? And then I couldn't remember what it was you were doing when you put it on. I remembered there was something. I was like, what did he say he used to do while this was like playing in the fucking background? Because this is fucking crazy. This is fucking nuts.
Yeah, no, if I was like, hey, you want to like hang out? Come over for some drinks.
We're on some Hellbound.
I'd put this on the background. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt you. All right, continue.
I think it's a really fun movie. I think when you watch it, like, for purposes of doing a show like we did, it makes infinitely less sense than even once thought. But I mean, it gives you the origin of Pinhead, right? It gives you how he came to be, how it came to look like that. We get Leviathan, which, I mean, some people love that, some people don't. But I think it's cool that we see, you know, who they serve and get more of an understanding of their world. And the personal hell, like I mentioned last time, is really the focus of this one. How it affects everyone differently, and you know, I like that the girl Tiffany, who's like just a pure girl, opens the puzzle. Like you said, Pinhead's kind of like an anti-hero. When Tiffany opens the puzzle box, he's just like, halt. Like, we don't want to do anything to you. Like, you shouldn't have opened this. It's about
like, how the fuck why did you fucking I think
maybe we should have made reference harder.
Like, yeah, he's like, he makes a reference and he's like, it's just her hands. Like, he says something. It was so hard to hear, but like, he's like, it's just her hands. Like, she has no desire.
Exactly. It's about this is what people want to experience, like the next level of
to access
pleasure, of ecstasy. Then they're gonna fuck you. But this girl just opened it, and she had no meaning.
No idea.
She wanted nothing from it. So it's weird that he's just like, well, we want nothing to do with her. But then, fucking like, Kirsty didn't have any desire. She wanted to survive, and they're like, we're gonna fucking murder you.
But I think. Oh yeah, no. I guess you're right. No, you're definitely right. Never mind. I take it back. Yeah, no. I guess that makes sense. It's fine. It's fine.
This one, the blood and the gore in this. That one scene with the maggots is one of my favorite scenes in horror. Like, just stomach churning. I do think Dr. Chenard is a fucking goofball.
They jumped the gun on, like, let's make a Cenobite. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I agree with that. They jumped the gun. I like it, but it's not.
It's like the end of Batman vs Superman. We're like, hey, we should put Doomsday into this movie, so let's cram the entire storyline into the last 10 minutes. I feel like they're like, hey, we should show how a Cenobite is created.
Yeah,
a new one that's gonna be along with the ones that are already established. Yeah. And they threw it into the last 10 minutes. You're like, Dr. Chenard is the fucking Cenobite? He looks like an idiot.
Yeah. I really like this movie, though. I like it a lot.
I love it.
I think Pinhead's fucking entrance in this is like the most like fucking Ric Flair shit of all time. That is like a fucking surprise entry in the Royal Rumble, motherfucker. That like the Cenobites show up and then fucking Pinhead just walks out with this fucking backlit light behind him, and he's just fucking badass. And you're so fucking pumped to see him again. You're just fucking jacked up. Yeah. I liked it. A lot of people give this a fucking really hard time, and I don't want to say a lot of people actually, but I imagine there's a lot of people, because I found a few YouTube videos that like honestly fucking made my fucking skin crawl and my blood boil. One was that fucking Joe Blow website, those fucking mutts. They did a what the fuck happened to this movie bit on it, which like, honestly, the shit you can complain about this, you can complain about any sequel in horror ever, or any horror movie. It's like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, no shit. They're fucking Cenobites. What the fuck is a Cenobite? They could actually do whatever they want because they're fucking made up by a guy. Like some guy fucking made them up. They can do whatever the fuck they want. So fucking relax. It reminds me of that like James Cameron thing recently where he's been like people are like, Jack should have survived. There's plenty of room. And James Cameron's like, I wrote the fucking movie. He died. Like, what do you want me to tell? Like, there's no science behind it. Like, it's a fake. It's a fucking fictional story. And guess what? I wrote that he died, so he died. Like,
Tarantino had a great one about that too, about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Brad Pitt's character fights Bruce Lee and he knocks him down once, and everyone's like, that would never happen. And Tarantino's like, that guy's not real. He's like, I could have him fight Dracula if I wanted to, and that would be okay because it's a movie. So he's like, I had him beat him one time. It's a fucking movie. And
what are we doing? What are we doing in this? And like, I know that we're kind of doing it, but like, I think it's a little different. It's like we're pointing out like,
when you analyze a movie like Hellbound, Hellraiser II. To be fair, I love this movie. I think this movie's great. I used to try and get laid while showing people this movie, so I obviously have an affinity towards it. When you're trying to talk about it, not a lot of that ending makes a lot of fucking sense. And our boy Tony Randall directed this, which we covered from Amityville, It's About Time, Ticks, and Shark and Saw Women Prison Massacre. And this is, knowing that now, like, yeah, of course he directed this. It's right up his fucking alley. This is straight.
I agree completely. There was another YouTube video. I don't even want to say their name, but I'm going to, because it's just like, I don't even want to give them fucking credit. Yeah. B-movie tryhards.
That's the name of them?
That's the name of their fucking thing. I don't know. The thing was called Did Everything Wrong with Hellraiser 2? Or Everything Wrong with Hellraiser 2 is what they called it. Which, have you ever watched a CinemaSin video?
like where they count the sins of a movie. It's fucking awful. That's dog shit too. But anyway, they start doing the cinema sin thing with the cinema sin counters on it. And I was like, wait, is this cinema sin? I thought this was something else. At the beginning of the movie, they're like, yeah, we just stole this from cinema sin. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Dude, if you listen to it, dude, you like, I couldn't watch the whole thing. Like my fucking bones hurt. Dude, watch it after. It's so bad. Like, dude, their fucking bits are fucking dog shit. Sometimes I wonder like how we're successful and how we have the amount of listeners we have. And then I listen or watch to something like this, and I'm like, this makes perfect fucking sense.
Going in.
Fuck would listen. Who the fuck would listen to this horse shit? It's fucking insane. Dude, the guy's like, hey, and he's trying to be like fucking funny as fuck. He's like, hey, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm pretty. It's the scene where the nails are going into the guy's fucking head to create Pinhead. Because I'm pretty sure those are nails, not pins, counted as a fucking sin. Like as if that's like a fucking error in the fucking movie. Hey, motherfucker, it's not even his fucking name. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Who the fuck gives a shit? Fucking insane. Call him whatever the fuck. Oh, it's fucking nuts.
Nail.
Guy fucking cried. Dude, the shit he pointed out was unreal. Unfucking real. Anyway. Hey,
Wait, well, those guys. Those were the guys I told you I was watching, right? Remember, I watched the video. I can't think of who that was.
So. Everyone's got these fucking dumb.
Hey, on a more positive note, we didn't talk about this guy on the last one, but Christopher Young is back doing the score, the music, and the music for Hellraiser, I think, is incredibly underrated. Like that score is haunting.
It's really good, and he's back, and it's just as good. Also, I thought you were going to be like, on a more positive note, this guy's back, and I thought you were going to say lose the lotto.
Why he's back?
Why I was like,
he's back.
Good. No, I don't know. I don't think so. But I thought that was the news you were going to break just now.
Why did you think that?
I don't know. It was like the first thing I thought of. I was like, oh, great.
Insane.
Here's the weird thing, though. Ready?
I'm ready.
This movie underperforms Hellraiser in terms of money, right? Box office.
1 million.
So Hellraiser had a $900,000 budget, as we already talked about, made 14.5 in the States, and that was on 1,100 screens. Mm-hmm. Hellraiser 2 supposedly has a budget of $6 million. That's a lot of fucking money. And they were on 100 extra screens, at least at the launch. And they underperformed with $12 million box office. So $2 million short of that. And again, like almost on 1,200 screens. So it's a weird discrepancy. And I was like, that seems fucking odd. Like, I don't think that should have happened. I think Hellraiser got popular, so I don't know why that would happen. So I started like digging around a little bit. I think there's a bunch of reasons why that would happen. But one of the interesting things is part 1 was released September 18th. Perfect. Fall, spooky. And I know for whatever reason, fucking Hollywood's like, you don't release anything in the fall. That's fucking psychotic. But as we've learned, if you release a horror movie in that period, it's going to make fucking money. Like, yes. Fucking insane. It's fucking nuts. Anyway, so that obviously cleans up in the fall. And it has a 15-week stay in theaters. So they just take all that fucking fall money into the winter. They're done. Part 2 is released on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. Who is going to see Hellraiser 2 2 days before fucking Christmas? That, dude, again,
ill-advised timing.
Think about that. Like, even you and I, we'd be big fans. We'd probably be clamoring for 2. We are not going opening fucking weekend. Like, you're not going. You're just not fucking going. Like, what's the Christmas spirit? Watch somebody's fucking skin get torn off and Hellraiser send everyone to hell. That's a terrible fucking idea. That is a terrible, terrible idea. And I think that is honestly and I think they were like, the big winter release, right? Winter break release. I think it was just an ill-advised. I don't think anyone went to go see it because of the time it came out. And I think that was a big part of it.
And I mean, December or Christmas movies are usually like the big family movies that people are going to go with their families. It's not happening for Hellraiser 2, like you're saying. Absolutely not.
I wonder if there were any like Christmas movies that came out at that time. Dude, Scrooge came out. Scrooge came out like 2 weeks before. Dude, they got fucking crushed. Who thought that they should open this against this competition? Wait, December box office, Twins, Naked Gun, the first one, Scrooge, Rain Man, Tequila Sunrise, Oliver and Company, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, The Land Before Time, Child's Play.
Yeah.
Dude, Ernest Saves Christmas, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
All these are December releases?
Dude, they weren't December. They were like some are November, some are December. But they were in theaters at this time.
Oliver and Company's first movie I ever saw in theaters. I remember.
Is it really?
Yeah.
You could have been seeing Hellraiser 2.
I'm going to fucking yell at my mom tomorrow.
Dude, like those are all in the. This is the box office for December. They come in. Hellbound comes in 15th under all of those movies I listed, plus Working Girl and My Stepmother is an Alien, and which for some reason I just and Cocoon the Return. I feel like My Stepmother is an Alien. I don't know what this is, but I feel like Tino could probably list every actor.
We own it, yeah.
That seems like right up. That is like a Tino, like
Tino absolutely loves that movie.
List every person in it, and then all the other movies they've been in. So that's a fucking tough fucking. Why would you release that? That's like you're not gonna fucking.
Yeah, that's tough. That's stiff competition.
Dude, money is spread across all of those things. Like that is nuts. Dude, Ernest Saves Christmas is out, dude. I'm going to see that. Hell yeah. I can't believe that was in theaters, too. Isn't that nuts? Isn't that
we say it all,
iconic?
I feel like we somehow talk about this all the time, but I just can't believe those exist, period.
We talk about Ernest so much. I love Ernest so much.
That should be our next serial killer.
Dude, honestly, I'm fine with it. I'm fine. Everyone's going to be furious when we do Ernest
Slam Dunk Ernest.
Hey, we got a movie to talk about here. Anyway, so that's we're going on. We're about to hit 2 hours here, so we got to fucking wrap this up. Tony Randall, this is fucking bad. But listen, here's my other thing about this. I knew taking these notes, I was like, this one's going to be so fucking big. Like, honestly, 1 and 2, 1 should have probably been its own. But like the rest of them, I feel like are going to be a lot easier to condense. I think they're going to be, Clive's not involved. I think the backstories are going to be a little less interesting as we get into 3, 4, 5 down the line.
I am wondering how some of these are going to function. I'm not well versed in any past part 3.
I don't know past part 2, period. I don't remember a fucking single fucking thing. So I think I've seen maybe 3, but everything else I've definitely never seen in my life. Anyway, Clive's handing over the reins. He's no longer going to be directing. He hands it over to Tony Randall because, again, he was getting tired of making movies. He didn't really love it. And Tony Randall worked actually on the first Hellraiser. So he was like, yes, who better to give it to than this fucking moron? He also loves Tony Randall's thing. And like, this makes me love Clive more. I watched an interview with him and he was like so excited for Tony to be doing this and so excited to hand over the reins. And he's like, he compared it to mythology and he's like, you need other people to like fucking take the reins and like add to it or a different vision or whatever. And like, that's how mythology's gone, right? Like mythology's never, it's not the same story that they told in fucking ancient Greece. It's fucking morphed over hundreds of years.
It's like playing telephone.
He's like, yeah. And he's like, that's the way fucking storytelling is. So he's like, so why not give it to somebody else? Would have given it to somebody else, not Tony Randall. But hey, that's where we're fucking at. Not to be confused with, Felix Unger.
I do confuse them with that. We're the only 2 people in 2022 making that connection. But.
Hey, can we talk about a little bit about The Odd Couple starring Walter Matthau?
The movie? Jack
Yeah.
Lemmon? It's great.
Yeah.
And the sequel. Dude,
So
the sequel here. Thought it was hilarious.
Dude, at Cheshire Theater. Did you see it in Cheshire?
Yeah, at Cheshire Theater.
So did I. Bro. That was fun.
Remember, I opened up my thing of Skittles that I bought, and they spilled all over the floor, and the guy behind me shushed, and I was like, hey, idiot, do you think I'm happy? I just spilled all my fucking Skittles over the floor, shushing them, dropping them.
I remember the screen went out during it, and my mom was like, "Oh, for Christ's sakes!" She's like, "This happens every single time." And I was like, "Oh,
dude,
okay.
the screen was a disaster."
So Clive was super excited to hand it over. Again, Tony Randall, we know him from Amityville. He is THS Hall of Fame, baby. Like that motherfucker. He's a standout.
Yeah.
He's a standout
For sure.
Actually,
not a Hall of Fame you want to be in as a filmmaker.
No. Like the fucking movies that email, like the fucking what do they call it? Marketing people that email us being like, "You want to cover our movie on your show?" I don't think you fucking want that. Don't think you've listened. Ashley Lawrence returns as Kirsty, who is now being hospitalized because of her visions of Cenobites. Originally, there was going to be. I'll say that.
Claire Higgins back as Julia.
Yep. And Kenneth Cranham taking the lead here as the villain of Dr. Channard. Super well-known British Shakespearean actor coming into the fucking fold, and only because his son was like, "I love
his
fucking
grandson.
Hellraiser."
His grandson was like,
Your grandson, yeah. Sorry. An alternate script does exist where Larry is in this movie, and there is some, I don't know, back and forth, if you will, I guess, about why Andrew Robinson didn't do it again or what. Andrew Robinson was basically like, I didn't like the idea. I'd be curious to know how he fit in, because like before I rewatched 2, I didn't really have a recollection of what happened. I could see something cool going on with Larry, but I could also understand why he'd be uninterested in doing it. You know,
he'd fit in the underworld part, like Chrissy's
right.
Hell.
Well, and like she's looking for her dad, right? She could have brought him back.
It would make sense, yeah.
And if you brought your dad back, would he be evil or would he be okay?
I think he'd be okay because he was killed in malice, right? So I think his soul would be all right to save.
Yeah. So
William Hope's in it. Kyle McRae. He's just coming off Aliens. He had a leading role in Aliens, and now he's in Hellraiser 2.
Now he's in Hellraiser 2 in a really weird role. That like I couldn't quite figure out. All right, so let's hop into this. We open with the end of Hellraiser. That was the other thing one of those fucking YouTube channels complained about. They're like, boy, we've already seen that. You fucking relax, guy. Fucking
recaps
80s.
Used to be a thing.
Yeah, fucking take it. And by the way, it's the quickest and best recap I've seen.
It is,
dude.
It is. And people were so spoiled now. Like, I would be thankful back then because you didn't have access. You don't remember? You fucking watched the movie a year ago. Like, thank you. You fucking now I remember. Now we can start. And
it was just the end. It was just like, here's what happened at the end. Let's fucking move on.
Yeah,
done. And it picks up right then. So it's like, a guy fucking pisses off. Anyway. We open with that quick recap, and then we open to an adventurer named Elliot Spencer. Very oldie time adventurer, like not wild thornberries. I don't know. What does he look like? What does he fucking look like? I don't know. In a military-esque type base, which is true, he is in the military, with the lament configuration. Now, if this guy looks familiar, that's because this motherfucker is Doug Bradley, none other. We watch him open the lament configuration and begin to be tortured and turned into none other than fucking Pinhead.
Anyone that has
love that open.
Anybody that's come across the lament configuration can easily open
it. Yeah. We cut to Kirsty. It's just a fun way to open that. Like, here's fucking Pinhead's origin. No fucking drawn out story.
Nails going into his head. Yeah, exactly. You're just like, oh shit, that's fucking Pinhead. That's cool.
That's how they fucking
We just saw it. That's all you need. Like, we just saw him get created. That's all.
They just beat the shit out of him.
That's it. Kirsty wakes up immediately following these events of part one. She's in a psychiatric ward being investigated by the police, as we mentioned. We see the cops at the house also finding corpses in baskets and closets, which the cop is shooting for some reason.
Which they acknowledged too. Like, hey, we got this evidence.
Like, hey, listen.
It was fired upon. And the cop's face is like, what the fuck?
Shot it like 19 times. We meet Kyle McRae, as you mentioned. He shows up. He's a nurse/doctor, not really sure, but very sympathetic to Kirsty. Kirsty is having some hardcore visions, though. And we also see this little girl, Tiffany, playing with a box. We see skinless Frank writing, "I am in hell, help me," on the wall, which you think is Frank, and then you think is her dad, because she's like, that was actually my fucking dad. And you're like, oh, shit, that's crazy.
Yes, and that's played by Oliver, what's his last name? Smith.
Oliver Smith. He's back. He played skinless Frank. Yep. Reprised that role. He will also play another character in this, the mental patient, Browning, who has an amazing scene in this. That dude got fucking 2 killer roles, man. You already mentioned Christopher Young. We meet Dr. Channard roaming the halls, showing us all the inmates in the facility, and they are in rough shape. This is not your normal facility. This is like for the criminally insane, I would say, is I imagine what they would call this. Sure. Kirsty reveals her father was McRae's in there, and she's like, hey, my dad visited me last night. And McRae's like, oh, yeah, I think I'm done sympathizing for you now. Like, you actually are fucking nuts. And we get some flashbacks explaining what happened between Frank and Julia again, how they opened the gates to hell, how they were lovers. We see Dr. Channard on the phone, and he's like, just move it to my house. Just move it to my house. You don't know what he's talking about. The item he's referring to is the mattress from the first movie that Julia died on. Yeah. And is this McRae that breaks into the fucking house? That's who that is, right?
Yeah. McRae goes to his home and is like, hey, this guy's nuts, because he has to your point, the guy has like 25 fucking lament configurations.
Yeah. Under glass.
Yeah, under glass. And McRae, he stuck into it because he's acting. Oh, he stuck into it because Kirsty says something about him.
Oh.
Kirsty's like, this guy's fucking whack job. He's like,
Kirsty picked up a vibe, huh?
Yeah. So he breaks in to investigate, and he sees those, and then he also sees what's about to unfold on this mattress.
Imagine seeing that mattress in your house. You leave and you call the fucking police. That's the end of the story. That's the end of the
mattress must stink too.
Dude, oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God. He reads this book, and you see some crazy shit. You see drawings of lament configurations, and you see a picture of Doug Bradley as Elliot Spencer in there. He's collecting articles about death being the fourth dimension, which I kind of like. Kind of dig that. And pics of like the box and all that. And he has the 3 configurations under glass. Just as all this is happening, Channard shows up. And he also has a patient with him. Again, Skinless Frank playing him. This guy's seeing bugs on him, and Channard lays him on the fucking mattress and hands him a fucking straight razor, and this motherfucker just fucking cuts himself.
Goes to town on himself. And the way that's shot is brilliant, to be honest with you, because it keeps cutting from what he's seeing, the maggots in the flesh, and then what everyone else is seeing, because there's no maggots there. He's just delusional, and he's just slicing the maggots, trying to get them off of him, just cutting himself to pieces.
It's kind of a hard scene to watch, man. Like, that dude is
gross.
It's gross, and like, that's fucked up. It's like really
sad.
Fucked up.
Yeah,
like, yeah, sure. It's fucking sad. It's fucking insane. And then we see bloody hands and bloody feet come out and fucking grab him.
Yes.
Fucking Julia, she's back.
Julia is back, coming back just like old Frank did in the first one.
Yeah, skinless Julia's here. And
I mean, I guess we can call Dr. Channard a mangle expert, right? Because he knows how to make this happen.
He knows fucking everything about this. Yeah, it's nuts. Julia's hungry. She gets her lunch here. Julia's like, help me. And we see that Channard does help her. And Julia starts living her best bloody ass life you could ever imagine inside Channard's house, just walking around, leaving bloody footprints and handprints all over the fuck. I'd be like, can you please just stay in one fucking room? Like, this is going to be such a fucking headache to clean.
All over your carpet.
Fucking kidding me? Just stay in one fucking room. But that does not happen. Instead, he bandages her up.
Yes.
Which I feel like it's going to hurt coming off.
I mean, I feel like it's not going to do anything. Like, what are you bandaging? You just fucking sinew.
I also love that bloody Julia is smoking and drinking. It's the first thing she does. And I'm like, you know what? Julia fucking rocks. Like, dude, the first thing she does is like, this is fucking wine. Fucking drinks it. Starts smoking cigarettes. Well,
Frank, yeah, actually, now you say that, Frank has a cigarette too when he first comes back, which is so funny.
It's fucking horny. Like, you just had the best sex of your life, man. You were fucking ripping after fucking torture cigarette. Anyway, Julia Gulia is still horny as fuck despite receiving all of the pleasures and seduces Mr. Channard here.
Yes.
And
kiss on the lips. This is almost as
he's
gross as the guy slicing the maggots.
He's like pulling up her skirt. I hated it.
She is so bloody and gross. I mean, yeah. This movie, the Hall of Fame gross out.
Meanwhile, McCrae, who was there, has left, gone back to the hospital, found Kirsty, and is like, hey, by the way, everything you said is fucking true. And she's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, well, then get the fuck out. Like, we gotta fucking leave because this is fucking insane. I just saw a fucking skinless corpse come out of a mattress and fucking eat somebody. So McCrae jailbreaks her. She's immediately like, we're going to the house. And I thought she was talking about the old house, but she's talking about Channard's house.
Yes.
Ballsy as fuck. Also, at this point, fucking Kyle, fucking McCrae, fucking take it easy, man. He's like, okay, baby. He like rubs her fucking lips with his thumb. Like, fucking poor girl just lost everyone she fucking knows.
This is literally a day after the events.
She's in a psych ward. She doesn't even know what's coming or going. This guy's like, hey, baby. Anyway, Channard, while this is all going on, is getting more bodies. And like, I mean like more fucking bodies. The room's got 6 fucking corpses hanging in it. Maybe more even. They're just hanging around his house. And one is a good looking gal for her to accept her form.
Yes.
Which she absorbs. Channard cuts off the bandages and we see Julia's back, baby.
She looks great. I know I
said
that
way better than the first one.
So much better.
It looks so good. And that scene is really cool and very, very what's this guy's name? Tony Randall. Very Tony Randall-y, which is also kind of very old Universal monster Frankenstein-esque, because like lightning's cracking. There's like wind howling as he's like cutting off the bandages. It's not Hellraiser-y, I'll put it that way. But it's very Tony Randall.
That's a good comparison because tonally it is a lot different than the first one. Like you said, the first one in this is serious as serious can be. And this one, not that it's like goofy, or I mean it is goofy, but not that it's like humorous, but it's a little more lighthearted, especially at the end.
There's like some Hollywood to it, right? Like the first one, you're like, should I be watching this? Like, what is this fucking about? Like, is this okay to watch? This one, you're like, I'm watching a movie. Like, I'm watching a bigger budget movie here. So it's going to appeal to more people. So Kyle takes Kirsty to the house, which is fucking insane. And Kyle's like, hang on, I'm going to scope out the house, where he finds Julia, who he's like, where's the doctor? She's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay, we got to get you out of here. instead of being like, you're probably in on this because there's a bloody mattress in the next room. But she's like, go check that room. Go check that room out. Goes in, sees all the bodies, and she's like, isn't that fucking weird? And he's like, yeah. And then she's like, okay, and then fucking kills him. It's fucking awesome. Sucks the soul right out of him. Kyle McRae, who I thought was going to make it, does not.
And again, coming off of Aliens in a lead role, just to be killed off in Hellraiser 2.
Yep. And while this is happening, Kirsty's going through the books that Kyle already did. And she puts together that fucking Elliot is Pinhead. She's like, oh shit. She takes Elliot's picture, just in case you need that
smart.
Later on. Very smart. But then she hears Kyle's dead ass fall on the ground and goes to investigate, only to find fucking Julia. And I really thought that they were going to be like, she wouldn't see Julia and Julia would come from behind and knock her out or something. They fucking encounter each other, man. It's such a good scene. Like, I fucking love it. And Julia gives a fucking, a little, I don't want to call it a monologue. I mean, it's short, but she's like, I'm no longer the wicked stepmother. I'm now the evil queen. Take your best shot, Snow White. She's fucking dark. This Julia is different.
She's seen some shit.
Yeah. She's seen some shit and she is ready to fuck people up. Yeah. And then Chandler walks in. They knock. She slaps Kirsty so fucking hard. It was fucking earth shattering. Chandler though she's knocked out. Chandler walks in with the little blonde girl, Tiffany. And he goes, now it's my turn, which I thought implied meant he knew that he was like going to make himself like her. I thought he was going to make himself like Julie. I thought that's what he wanted. But later he'll be like, what the fuck?
Well, what's cool about that, and I love that scene, and that's kind of what you get from the book with Frank. Like, Frank wants the next level, and then when he gets there, he's just like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want this. And kind of got that vibe from him, because that is what he thought he wanted, but it's beyond human comprehension when you're finally there.
Dude,
maybe not.
How do you fucking think of this shit, Clive? Like, how the fuck do you even fucking... Why are you thinking about this shit? They lock Tiffany in a room with the lament configuration, and they're watching her through a hole in the wall. This little puzzle master, not to be confused with the Page Master, starring one Macaulay Culkin. Remember that fucking flick? She opens the puzzle immediately. Which my note, this is where I had my note where I was like, why is everyone like, because like Chandler's like, holy shit, she fucking did it. You're like, what? Of course
Chandler, you should have just tried. Like, solve it in a minute.
Give me an old scholarly try. And again, the walls open up all over the house. And out comes the fucking crew. Butterball, female Cenobite, Chatterbox. And we watch Pinhead get his big fucking reveal, which I already talked about. And which must have been so sick for Doug Bradley, too, who's like, he took that role, not really thrilled about it. And now he's like, oh, fuck. Like, I get this fucking entrance, bro. Yeah. And like you mentioned, he's like, no. When they see, because they're about to fucking kill that little girl. And then he's like, no. And something about the hands and the desire thing. So Tiffany is fine. She's safe. They leave her totally alone. Meanwhile, Kirsty wakes up to the same old horse shit she's had to deal with for the past however long. And she starts running around looking for her dad, which this was like, honestly, my biggest thing, which is like, hey, dude, your dad's just dead. Like, don't overthink this. Which is funny. This is what I actually wanted to talk about earlier, because that's what Frank tells her. Frank's like, hey, dude, your dad's fucking dead. Like, fucking take it easy. Like, he's not one of us.
But she saw the fucking corpse in the room that said, help me, I'm in hell.
Yeah.
So that's why she's motivated to find him.
But, dude, even after she finds out that was Frank, she's still like, Daddy!
Well,
her dad died. Her dad also died.
Pretty traumatic 48 hours.
Guess what? Guess what? They're also in a labyrinth now. We get a view of where these people are from, and it is a big ass labyrinth with a giant diamond in the center called Leviathan. It's not the Leviathan. It is Leviathan.
It's an entity.
Its name.
Its own god.
It is an entity. It is a god. God of the labyrinth, if you will.
They call it Lord of the Labyrinth, the god of hunger and flesh.
It's fucking cool. I'm fine with it. As you mentioned before, you were like, you kind of said the same thing. Why? Like, I didn't know people were upset by that, but like, what the fuck else? Like, there's nothing that you're going to be super thrilled about that like Pinhead has to answer to, right? Like,
yeah, I think if I had to assume, speak on behalf of other people, maybe they're just expecting like a generic hell setting and like Satan as the overlord. Instead, we get a floating diamond.
I see. I fucking like it. I
like it
really
too.
like it.
I like it too, and I'm curious to see how it plays or comes into play later on in the series.
Because I don't like fully like I know they're kind of from hell, but like I don't really think of them as like from hell. I think hell is just different in this. Like they're not thinking of like, which is funny because Clive is, I think he's Catholic. He's definitely Christian. But this isn't the hell that you read about. Like if it is hell.
No, it's not. It's not fire and brimstone hell. It's more
no.
Like we keep saying personal hell. It's more of like your biggest fears and like anxiety, right? Because you're just trapped. It's despair and hopelessness for you personally.
So anyone hoping for the devil or anything like that, like this isn't the Christian rendition of hell, and it might not even be hell. We don't even know. This is just the afterlife, sort of
dimension. Yeah, it's a different dimension.
Yeah, like and like if death is the fourth dimension, like you're just going to another dimension.
Yeah,
that fucking sucks.
It's cool. It's a cool concept.
Yeah, very cool concept. Anyway, Tiffany, Tiffany and Kirsty, like, I don't know how it happens, but like they're constantly together and then apart, and then like together and apart, and you're just like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, they experience their own hell. Like Tiffany, because she doesn't really talk.
She does not. She's a mute from trauma.
She's a mute from trauma. There's a great scene I can't wait to talk about, but a mute from trauma. But we see a baby having its mouth sewn shut in Tiffany's hell. And you're seeing like clowns. She's in like a fun house, right?
Yeah,
with like the wacky mirrors and stuff. It's
carnival. Yeah,
really a bizarre, like tripped out scene. And then Kirsty's in her own personal hell where she has to deal with Frank and just that like labyrinth that she's in with corpses and stuff.
I love Kirsty's personal hell. I love the use of the same front door from the first movie. There's a lot of cool. This movie is like super visual, so like I think there's a lot. I would say give it a watch because there's a lot of stuff to pick up on that we're gonna like gloss over, but like because of their personal hells, there's just all these like hidden little things. I also loved in Tiffany's that fucking guy juggling his fucking eyeballs.
Yeah.
Fucking insane. Fucking insane. Like, and also, why does Tiffany look like Draco Malfoy's dad?
Wait.
That motherfucker.
Lucius
Malfoy's
Malfoy?
a blood eater. What? Lucius.
The Death Eater.
What do they call them? Death Eaters. That motherfucker Death Eater. Tiffany is Death Eater, boy. Anyway, baby showed its mouth. Kirsty's seeing bugs and blood and shit everywhere. Do you think there might have been some influence from the studio here being like, make it like Freddy?
Definitely a possibility. It was dreamlike state.
It was very
much like Dream Warriors.
It reminded me a lot of that. It reminded me a lot of like Freddy, the dreaming, and like very like, and I know it's the personal hell thing, but it just seems like they were like, let's add this shit to it, like to make it exciting. I don't know. Anyway, Kirsty somehow also has the lament configuration. I don't know how, but whatever. It's just they're fucking handing them out like candy. And Kirsty runs into the Cenobites again. And they're like, "Oh, Christy, we thought we lost you. We are so glad you're back." I fucking love it. I fucking love this scene. Dude, Doug is like saying that, and he is saying it so slow and with no emotion. And somehow you're like, that motherfucker is so happy to kill her. He is like, you could just feel it. Like,
he has that like, he somehow has that like half smirk behind all that makeup and prosthetics.
It's so crazy, and he's just like, you could just feel it. Like he's like, oh, like I can't believe I fucking ran into you. This is the best. Like this is fucking great. Because like imagine you're like, I'll never see her again. The one that got away.
Like Chrissy's to be like, remember Frank? Well, I got his girl that escaped you.
Dude, hey, remember the first movie? We're going to do the same thing, except the girlfriend has escaped now. Kirsty also, like, somehow the lament configuration turns into a diamond. I don't know how. And Kirsty has, like, so much balls. Kirsty actually fucking rocks. Actually, I don't know who's dumber, Kirsty or the Cenobites, because Kirsty is in hell, surrounded by demons, and is like, where the fuck is my dad? What are they gonna... Okay, who cares? We're gonna kill you now. Like, what the fuck? We don't have to answer that. We don't have to tell you shit. You're in our fucking world now. And by the way, Pinhead's answer is like pretty much that. Pinhead's like, he's in hell? Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, he's dead. What? Like, everyone's always so confused when Kirsty brings it up. They're all like, yeah, he's fucking gone. What?
You know this.
What are you looking for? Which is funny because all these people are dead. And anyway, old Channer gets he starts having weird visions, right? Like I didn't even fully understand what was happening here. But he's like watching somebody fuck somebody, and then it's Julia. I don't know. Anyway, Julia shows Julia shows Channer Leviathan, the giant labyrinth, and this causes Channer to see all the deeds he's done in his life, which are horrendous, very like serial killer-esque too, like fucking chopping up animals as a kid and shit. And Julia says, "It wanted souls, so I brought you." Channer is fucking shoved into the Leviathan, where piano wire fucking cuts his face.
Great scene.
A good old fucking hentai monster cock is shoved into his mouth. And that's it. That's the end of Channer. We'll see him in a little bit. He's just the door closes and he's gone. Monster dick and mouth. Just fucking loading him up. Kirsty and Tiffany find each other again. And Kirsty,
they are in another dimension.
The biggest labyrinth of all time.
The biggest labyrinth of all time. And the same three. And also, there's layers to it, right? Julia's on one that's floating in air. And somehow
it's an
they're
MC
all
Escher painting.
It is like, all MC Escher. Yes.
Yeah.
Great
it's not
comparison. And then they all just keep bumping into each other. It's unbelievable.
What funny seeing you here. Which is what they do. But like, a few times Kirsty's like not super cool with Tiffany. Like Kirsty here like berates Tiffany and is like, how do we get out? Tiffany doesn't speak and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then Kirsty and Tiffany separate again. But this time I think it was because she was like, go get safe. Like she was like, get out of here, get safe. Imagine sending a child to do that.
Yeah. How old is Tiffany in this?
I don't know, younger than fucking Julie or
way younger.
Kirsty. Yeah. And Kirsty's like, listen, get the fuck out of here. Go. Get out alive. She doesn't know where the fuck dude, does anyone know where the fuck you're going? So she just sends this poor little mute girl on her way. And again, some cool stuff with these labyrinth scenes, front doors opening and stuff. And then we go to Kirsty's personal hell, which is Uncle Frank showing up, confronting Kirsty and revealing he was the one, not her father, that was writing those messages on the wall. Kirsty is shocked, which is insane.
Alarm.
Yeah, very alarming. He's the only skinless man you've ever seen.
Seen. There's no reason that your dad would be in hell.
Kirsty gives her uncle a little smooch on the cheek and is like, I'll do anything. Dude, she undersells this so much. She kisses her on the cheek and he's like, I'll do anything as long as you like don't hurt me. And then like he's like before he can even say anything, she's like, "Rah!" And like throws a fucking one of the sheets off of like the killing table into the flames, and everything just lights on fire.
Explodes. Frank's screaming.
Yeah, because she's like, I'd rather burn. Like, dude, she gives no fucking what do they call it? Dramatic pause. Like
no suspense.
There's no dramatic pause. She's like, look, well, I'll do anything. Ah! Sucker.
Call the
kills Frank somehow.
But not for me.
Oh man. Hey, guess who's back? Fucking Tiffany and Julia. They show back up. Julia says, well, family reunion. Nice. And we got Skinless Frank is back because she actually didn't kill Frank. She just took off his real skin. And Julia and Frank have some history here. They're not super thrilled to see each other. Well, Frank is thrilled to see her.
Frank wants to fuck.
Frank wants to control her. Like Frank is basically like, now get back to where we start. You know what I mean? Like Frank's like, fall in line kind of thing. Like,
sure.
Glad to see you. Love you. So glad you're here. But also like, I'm fucking in charge. And Julia's like, hey,
remember when you killed me?
Go fuck yourself. Absolutely go fuck yourself. And she kills him. Sucks that dude's soul right out. While that's happening, oh no, I'm sorry, she doesn't suck his soul. She rips his fucking heart out.
Rips his heart.
Sick.
Yeah. Indiana Jones.
The girls get away. Julia is on the chase. Though it appears there's now like an F5 tornado of some sort, like following them. Tiffany, Julia's like, grab my hand. And for some reason, Tiffany's like weighing the options of whether to grab Tiffany or Kirsty's hand. And you're like, you've been a part of this, right? Like,
yes, it's very weird. And even Kirsty's like, hey, Tiffany, what are you doing? Why would you grab her hand?
It's fucking insane.
But she does grab Julia's hand.
She does.
And I think it's because she's pure, right? Because we've already established that she's pure and like they want nothing to do there. Because she just pulls her skin right off.
She pulls her skin all the way off, and Julia gets sucked into the fucking
just falls to her death. And her skin is discarded in a heap, which will come into play later.
Don't forget that skin pile.
Old Tony Randall thought of it all.
In the giant fucking labyrinth. That scene's actually so funny because like Kirsty's like, hang on 1 second, like runs away. Hey, guess who's back? Fucking Channard's back. Channard's Cenobite is here. Channerbite
flies now. He has a built-in jetpack.
Well, he like comes out and you're like, oh, Channard Cenobite's kind of sick, and then that fucking alien dick is back and then like grabs onto his fucking head and he's like, like
his noises that he makes are so idiotic because they put on like a tremble effect too, so it's like he just keeps making those moans.
Oh my god. We've got to wrap this. I just realized it's fucking 12:30. This is fucking insane. All right, so let's skip forward here. A couple things to note. Chatterbox. Oh,
sorry. I'm so sorry. Channard, now that he's a Cenobite, can I just say that this might be my favorite line in the movie, or two lines in the movie, is we get like his person, or it might still be Tiffany's. There's patients that are, they all have like hooks in them and wires in them, and they're all on their beds at a hospital. And Chandler Cenobite barges in and he just goes, "The doctor is in." And then Tiffany speaks for the first time, just staring at him and just goes, "Oh shit." I fucking love that.
It was so weird because Tiffany actually speaks twice before the end, where it's like it should be the reveal that she can speak, like, but they like they spoil it twice. They spoil it fucking twice before that, and you're like, oh, this would have been way more effective if this was the first time she was speaking.
Yeah.
But
I thought it'd be like Tiny Tim Scrooge when he finally like gives the line at the end. And you're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So and Chandler kills those fucking poor patients. Anyway, the girls escape, but right into the fucking hands of Pinhead and the Cenobites. Now, you might notice something weird here. Chatterbox has, or the Chatterbox, whatever the fuck you want to call him, his look has changed.
Yes.
He's fucking eyeballs now. Motherfucker's got eyeballs now. And that is because Nicholas Vince, who played him, was like, hey, I need to fucking see in this movie. Can somebody please do that? But it's weird because like most of the scenes are filmed without the fucking eye holes. So also, you think they could have done something to just like let them see out of it.
I do agree. But also, like, you're on screen for 2 seconds.
You don't
need to see. You stand in the corner.
Everything about you is like a prosthetic, like the teeth chattering and shit. Also, Nicholas Vance took a fucking hook to the fucking jaw while filming a scene.
Because he couldn't see.
Yeah. Also, all the people, I guess, like that worked on it, all the actors and shit, were like, yeah, the motherfucker tells that story to everyone to try and get free dinners out of them. Which I think is like the funniest bit. Like, dude, they told that story on camera. And I was like, seems a little fucking weird, but anyway, Kirsty has no box to protect her. The Cenobites are here. What the fuck is she going to do? She pulls out the picture of Pinhead as a human and is like, remember you were human too. And Pinhead's like, oh, fuck.
First she's like,
remember.
Nope. Not me. And she's like, yes, you do. And he's like, wait a second. Double takes the picture.
Dude, that's exactly how it fucking goes. And then he fucking changes. Channerbite shows up and like there's this moment of like where the other Cenobite's about to kill her, but he stops them and he's like, I remember. And then Channerbite shows up, who's about to kill Tiffany, when Pinhead drops the photo and fucking attacks Channard.
Yes.
So there is a rift in hell here, and again, an anti-hero moment here where like fucking Pinhead saves the fucking day, and I kind of fucking liked it. I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense. I hope we go to just evil Pinhead moving forward, but I appreciated it here for what it is. Channard shoots his weapons into all the Cenobites, returning them to their human form and killing them. Everyone is dead.
All the Cenobites.
All the Cenobites that we have grown to love are fucking
They're gone.
Dead. They're gone.
The hands of fucking Channard.
The hands of Channard. And by the way, Chatterbox is a fucking child.
Yes.
Which is crazy. I actually loved that. And he says, I'm taking over this operation. You'll be my first patient. He turns Pinhead into a human. And Pinhead fucking turns and looks at the girls and like gives them the fucking okay nod.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, we got to fucking escape. And I'm like, that's fucking nuts. And then he slits Pinhead's throat.
He does.
What a fucking weird moment for Pinhead.
I mean, there's no way they thought they were going to make 9 more.
No, I guess that's true. And that's actually like a kind of a good way to wrap it up, right? Like I actually thought about it after, and I was like, if you were going to end it at 2, Pinhead's not a good guy. He should die. You don't want that guy lingering around. That's a great way to do
redemption. He had his moment of redemption.
He had a moment of redemption, and then a villain killed him, and then we're going to get that villain at the end. And I was like, I fuck with that.
I'm fine with
that.
No,
not terrible. Anyway, the girls are on the move. Tiffany finds the diamond, which, by the way, fucking, she grabs it, and Kirsty's like, Oh, come on. What is that gonna do? Like, Kirsty, are you fucking kidding? You grabbed a fucking picture of Pinhead and it solved almost all the problems of the movie. So take it fucking easy. She's gonna puzzle our way out of this. They confront the Leviathan, and she starts solving the puzzle, but Channelbite interrupts. He's about to kill Tiffany, but Kirsty has an idea. She runs away, and you're like, what is happening? By the way, Shannon could have probably ripped this girl apart 8,000 times before fucking Kirsty ever returns, but she returns as fucking Julia. And now I would have paid anything to see Kirsty in a Julia costume, like fucking walking around like floppy, like. But unfortunately, it's just the actress that played Julia. She's back, just playing Kirsty.
I wish it was like loose skinning Finn, like
dude, yeah, just like flopping around. Costume like 3 sizes too big. And fucking Channard's like, well, honey. Which is what happens here. He's wearing Julia's skin, and Channard's like, oh, baby. And Kirsty fucking Frenches Dr. Channard here to give Tiffany enough time to solve the puzzle, revealing the lament configuration again. And she completes it just as Channelbite attacks her. And that causes the Leviathan to rip off his head. Yeah. Don't know why. That was a lot.
Probably for wasting so much fucking time.
Honestly, probably. Julia goes to save Tiffany, who is now falling off the ledge. And for the first time, Tiffany is hesitant to grab Julia's hand because she thinks it's Julia. And instead of being like, it's me, Kirsty, I'm wearing Julia's skin suit, she's like, you have to trust me. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, she grabs it, pulls off the skin suit again. But Kirsty's able to grab her, saves her, reveals it's Kirsty, and they finish the configuration fully, get zapped back to home, where everyone in the psych ward is dead and has already been memorialized with wreaths on their fucking bed. Fucking saddest. And they get home and they're like, oh, thank God we're home. Walk through a fucking ward of empty beds with wreaths on them. The 2 girls leave. 2 escaped convicts leave. Peacefully. Back at it's not the end though. That's not the end. No. They're cleaning up Channard's house. Channard's gone. They got to clean up that mess. Which, by the way, is a crime scene because there are 800 bodies there. But regardless, the movers are there and find a bloody mattress. And he's like, huh. He gets sucked in. The other mover, we see him come in. He walks into the room. He sees his fucking friend halfway in the mattress. And he's like, and then we see a giant pillar come out of the mattress in some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. Like, legitimately. Comes out of the ground. And we see all the Cenobites' faces are tacked to the big pillar that spins around from the first one. And dead people on it, and skeletons having sex, little miniature skeletons having sex on it. Yep. Because that makes sense. And then it spins, and we see the face of the vagrant from the first movie. He's got little crickets on his face, and he says, "What is your pleasure, sir?" And the end. That is the end.
The end.
Ashley and Doug will come back for part 3. Ashley does not make it to part 4, but she will come back in part 6.
Can't wait.
I don't know if it's a full role or if it's a full role, like she's back, or if it's like flashbacks, because they do that sometimes. Yeah. So we'll see. We will see.
2 great movies.
Excited to do that.
Well.
Oh, so strong. Way too strong for what we're about to see. This is not going to be good for Hellraiser as we continue on this path. It's not going to bode well. You don't start out this strong. Everyone knows that. Next week, we will do Hellraiser 3 and Hellraiser Bloodline. Next week, we get into the silly names. Which they do not stop doing at all, ever.
Deader is one, right? Hellraiser Deader.
Hellraiser Deader is one of the names of a movie.
They got
Bloodline.
They got fucking lazy.
Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker, Deader, Hellworld. Hellworld is pretty lazy. How is it a world? I mean, it's because of the internet, I think. And then Revelations, Judgment. Jesus Christ, what a fucking
Let's
mess.
go. Let's go.
This is going to be something. Anyway, guys, it's so fucking late. Thank you all. Thank you, Joe, for sticking on 2.5 hours. I knew it was going to be long. It sucks. I'm sorry, but like, because you're covering Clive Barker too. That's the fucking thing. Like,
people like listening to this, man. I don't think they're gonna.
Everyone's going to be so fucking happy. It's going to be insane, but I'm fucking miserable. Anyway, hey guys, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all. Patreon.com/IHateHorror. I know we haven't done any bonuses in a while, but we'll be back with bonuses soon. And we will get these. We will start getting these episodes out earlier, so you get that early access to it quicker. I know that hasn't been a thing for a while, so I appreciate you all for being patient with that. So we'll be back. There, patreon.com/IHateHorror if you want to donate. Facebook.com/IHateHorror, IHateHorror.com, Instagram at IHateHorror. Joe, where can they find you?
Instagram, Boognish1985.
That is it. Thank you, Joe. Thank you all for listening. And for Joe, this is Sean. Stay weird.
Thank you.
Adios.
I dissect. Movies all fucking day.
I wanna play. I'm gonna watch what I'm not supposed to watch.
Fucking zombie getting sliced and diced.